Okay, this is now live, so I'm just going to wait for some of you to get in here while I mostly pull up Twitter. And we can hang out for a while we do social justice stuff. Make sure people can see. Hello. Hello. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Paco. Hi, Jermaine. You guys are good. So most evenings I spend my downtime before I'm actually starting to do stuff. Hi, Angelica. Hi, Alexis. Hi, Amy. Hi, Cece, I think. I spend my time like just going through petitions, any kind of sort of everything associated with like defund the police, prison reform, all that kind of stuff, and either learning or again signing petitions, writing emails. There's so many resources for like copy and paste, even if you're like someone that's not comfortable making phone calls or writing an email yourself or whatever, for justice for a lot of these people. So I thought, hey, let's hop on live and we can all kind of like do this together. Like, I'm not telling you, hey, sign exactly these ones, but if you can do any kind of activism at home right now, if you're not able to obviously like go out and do stuff like that and like march and stuff like that, like I can't because I don't have anyone to go with, and it's really not safe to not go in groups just because the police attack people, then I figured we could do it at home together. Because if it wasn't a pandemic, I would be going like to my friends' houses and we all be sitting around like on our computers like doing this together. So I kind of feel like this could be helpful. So I figured, why not spend my time doing this but also doing other things. So if you guys know of any petitions and stuff that you've signed today, I already retweeted one earlier for a man that died last year. But if you see any, definitely just tweet them at me, put them here, put them in the chat, put them in the comments, and people can go around and sign and stuff. But it's all intended to be stuff that's like very simple to do. It's like the bare minimum, you know, that you could possibly do. So obviously anything associated with like Breonna Taylor, since her murderers are still not in jail, that would be a great one to start with if you haven't done so already. But yeah, hi guys. Wow. A lot of you are saying hello in the comments. Hi, Logan. Hi from Egypt. Hello. Hello, Fernanda. Hi, Colette. You're always here. Love to see you. Hi, Callie. Hi, Inez. Hi, Stubbornly Bookish. Hi, Hatham. Wow. From Ohio. Alrighty. I was trying to make this easy by making sure I went through Twitter, but it's obviously hard to go through. Oh, here we go. And find some. So again, feel free to talk to me too while I'm doing this. I mean, that's kind of the whole point. So probably can also just go to like change.org, to be honest. Or if I look up petition to sign thread. Haha, perfect. I love Twitter. So yeah, if you search stuff like that, like thread of petitions you can sign to help the Black Lives Matter movement. Perfect. People, that's why I knew this would be easy, because people have been posting this like all over. So hi, Natalie. Hi, Something Bookish. Hi, Shannon. Yeah, so just spend your time. If you're watching this like on one device, do it on another device. I'm going to like this so you guys can find it too. But there are links everywhere. Isn't the internet fantastic? Thread of petitions. Perfect. Some of these I feel like I've already retweeted this one before. Some of these I definitely feel like I've gone through before. So about to study for a test, but this is way better. Perfect. I'm so glad that I'm not in school anymore. Just loving it. For once I'm here where you're live and not listening to it later. Well, I appreciate you for listening to it later, because I do that sometimes too with my my faves and stuff. So Okay. I'm off work until at least July 31st. Lots of free time for sure. Yeah, I also am not working, although I've been starting to apply for jobs. I've said before in lives like what the holdup has been with all of that. So because of things being shut down because of the virus and everything. So finally, I'm able to take the test I need for my license here and then start working and stuff. But right now, it's like I have plenty of free time. So I've been using multiple days during the week to just kind of like do this, like I said, this kind of stuff and online research and writing emails and calling local governments and looking up state budgets to see how much police are given and not mental health services. Love it. So yeah, it's just been really fun and illuminating. Like I already knew a lot because I am a social worker and we know a lot just as a profession, even though some social workers choose to ignore it, about injustice. It's like a part of our core values to like fight that. It's part of our ethics, like literally written in our ethics. So I already like had a starting point that was maybe above your average American, but there's still so many things that I find out that I'm just like so alarmed by. It boggles the mind. Did you finish any audiobooks in quarantine? What have I finished during quarantine audiobook wise? I finished a couple, but it's been a while. Oh, Daisy Jones and the Six, which I'm going to do a review of. Was a recent audiobook. In the last like 3 weeks or so, I'm listening to a lot of like podcasts. I go through periods of time where like I listen to a ton of audiobooks and then I listen to like a ton of podcasts. And it's just like, it's one or the other. Sometimes sprinkled in there with like bits where I'm like really, really into music. But I'm not like a super music obsessed person. So that doesn't tend to happen as much, but it's usually like podcasts. Because podcasts is where I get a lot of my like nonfiction information. Like I listen to a lot of like informative podcasts. And whenever I have a new hobby, I find podcasts about it and just like dive into it. So yeah, I haven't been really doing a lot of the books recently. I think the last book that I read on audio before Daisy Jones was for Tom Topple. I'm forgetting the name of the book. It's by Jen Lyons. I did a vlog on it on Tom Topple, so it was included. That's the last one before that. But I had been on an audiobook kick for a little while. So The Golem and the Genie on audio is very good. Very good. So yeah, that's a very good audiobook. Okay. Sign the petition. Are you guys signing petitions while you're listening? Comment in the chat yes, and I will believe you. So I hope you don't lie to me. Oh yeah, here's one for Tony McDade. Because yeah, it's very easy to multitask and do this. Like I know some of you that are watching later or watching now, seeing me look down like and signing something on my phone is maybe not like the most entertaining for you constantly, but like it's important, so I should probably just do it. I hate on apps and stuff now that like make you prove that you're not a robot. Those images where you have to be like, select as many as possible that are traffic lights. And it's like, I'm not a robot. Like, you're a robot. And sometimes you won't get all of them. Mountains or hills. Yes, let me do it. Anyway. I'm signing the petitions in the thread you liked on Twitter. Yes, perfect. There's so many on there. That's what I'm on right now. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ryan. Any witchy woo-woo podcasts? You mentioned that stuff last time, and now I'm curious, but don't know where to start. Yes. My two favorites for that, because I don't like I've mentioned before, I don't like people that get too, like, I don't know, there's a fine line of content that I enjoy. I don't know how to phrase exactly what I, like, don't like, but there's a vibe. So I'm listening to the Fat Feminist Witch podcast. She does her own, like, just her own, like, monologue type stuff, but then we'll also interview people that are, like, parts of different secular practice, like witchy stuff, woo-woo stuff, new age stuff, and then also people that are maybe like are pagan or Wiccan, or even not even like I think she's interviewed Christian witches and possibly Jewish witches as well. So like religious witches and non-religious witches, and just like witchy practice, astrology, Reiki, like new age stuff. Yes, share the links for petitions in the chat and on Twitter and whatever. The thread that I liked on Twitter is the one I'm going through right now. So feel free to check out my likes. So she's great. I really like her style. And then I'm listening to a tarot podcast. It's called Biddy Tarot, Biddy, which is a really popular tarot site that I go to. So I have a tarot guidebook for my deck, and then I go to that site as well and use both of their interpretations of cards because it's a free website and she has all these resources on tarot, but she has a really good podcast. And that podcast is really good if you're wanting to get into like tarot, but don't really want necessarily everything else. Like it's just tarot, and she very much views tarot as like tapping into your intuition, which is how I view tarot. Like I don't think anyone is speaking to me through the tarot cards. If you believe in that, that's fine, but like I don't. So, and that's so like her podcast is very easily accessible to like a lot of different people because it has more of a secular base to it. So those are two that I found. There's a couple other ones I kind of like want to try out, but I'm kind of just working through those two's backlog. I want to get into some like astrology podcasts. There's like a ton. And yeah, it's just hard to find like people that necessarily vibe with me in what they're like sharing and stuff. My local library has reopened with limited service, but still, hallelujah. I haven't checked to see if my library, I've still just been using my like apps and stuff. I do want a couple of books that I want to get from the library. I think they're letting you like go on our website and check things out and then do like curbside pickup. So I think I'll probably start doing that if they have done that. I'm enraged about stuff. So my gym has opened up, which I'm actually going to like put on hold my gym membership. But they've opened up and it's a YMCA, and I kept my membership open because during all of this, they've been keeping childcare open for like nurses, first responders, EMTs, things like that, for free childcare for people that have to work during the pandemic. So I'm like, that's really awesome. I'm already at a discounted rate because I'm not working. So I was like, I'll just keep that open because I can pay right now to like support this nonprofit doing that. But they've been reopening slowly in stages, but like they were only doing some outside stuff, and I'm like, fine, whatever. I'm still not going to go. And then they were doing swimming, and I was like, fine, whatever. I'm still not going to go. But they were like having people reserve lanes for a certain amount of time. So like there wasn't going to be a lot of like contact, whatever. They're now opening up all the gym, and they're like doing stuff where you have to reserve slots in like the cardio area and the weight room, which is all well and good. And I'm like, okay, smart. I'm still not going to do it, but like you're trying. But then the thing that got me was they're like, you have to wear a mask to get in the building, but you don't need to while you're exercising. And I was like, no, like the worst place for transmission is going to be when people huffing and puffing their particulates like everywhere. Like what? So even if I was slightly tempted to go, because part of me was like, okay, maybe in a few weeks, my area has been fairly low for cases. So I was like, maybe in a few weeks, if they're doing this reserved slot, everyone can stay far away, I'll go. And it's like, no, if it's free for all with your masks off, fuck that. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, people can't breathe in their. I'm like, if you can't breathe in your mask, you shouldn't be exercising. Like you shouldn't be at the gym. Like there are people that wear masks at like before this happened. There are these kinds of like oxygen controlling masks that really intense people like bodybuilders and stuff will wear that like limit their oxygen for harder workouts. So like wear a fucking mask. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. So now I'm like, well, everyone else coming back to you, I'm going to put my membership on hold because there's no need for me to be supporting that right now when I'm totally fine doing my yoga at home and going for walks every day that I can and going for like hikes and stuff. So The Sun is also a star, audiobook and movie. What do you prefer most, audiobook or movie? I haven't seen the movie. I listened to the audiobook. Nicola Yoon's books aren't like my favorite. That was a book that was like a 3-star for me. It's still like cute, but like didn't blow me away or anything. I can recommend Dead to Me. It's a history podcast with a comedy twist. Ooh, I'll look into that. I really like one of my like favorite nonfiction podcasts is Ologies. I've talked about this before. It's where like this comedian science woman whose name is Allie Ward, and she's great. You might be familiar with her if you're in like the science community, because I think she's on other shows and stuff. She interviews different ologists, like people that are like a biologist, a zoologist, a like specific niche ologies. Like she has, I think, over 200 episodes at this point. And that one is like so informative. I love it so much. That's not woo-woo. That's just like facts. Any woo-woo TikTok recs? Hold on, let me sign a petition first. During this break, sign a petition. Perfect. Man, the more that I see of these, like, I've definitely signed many petitions over the last couple of weeks, but it's like I need to see a new person, like, every time that got murdered by police, and it's like I've been doing this for weeks. Like, I know this all to be true, but it still just, like, exemplifies how fucked up this is. Woo Woo TikTok Rex. I really like, let me just pull up my TikTok really quick because I'm gonna forget their names if I don't look at who I'm actually following. My favorite is Chaotic Witch Ant, is like who I originally found on Witch Talk. She's great. She does a lot of like funny things too with like, she does deity work, which I'm not into. But she does like funny with like the sound clips of TikTok videos about like deities and stuff like that. So she's really great. One of my other favorites, where is she? I don't follow a ton of people. I just like go on my For You page a lot. Some of these people aren't even going to be on here. Ruby of Roses. She's a green witch. I really like her. CDN the Players is not a witch, but he is an astrologer and also very like familiar. I don't think he does voodoo, but he's very familiar with the voodoo practice. He's a black. I think he might not. Let me make sure it's he. Oh, they don't have their pronouns. Okay, pretty sure he identifies as he, but I will just say they from here on out. They, I don't think, are like a voodoo practitioner, but they're very familiar and from like the South and are very much knowing a lot about like voodoo practice. And they're very good about being like, hey, it's a closed practice. Stop doing voodoo if you're not in the like religion, and really dismantling a lot of myths around it and stuff. So that's really cool and fun. But they do a lot of astrology stuff, which is really great. And then I recently, oh yes, I love her. Cest Bonbon. So it's c.est.bon.bon. She's really great. Love her a lot. Let me see. Doe Knows Things is another like woo-woo person that I follow. And then, like I said, a lot of them just like pop up on my For You page though. Like I'm really bad about following people on TikTok. Like I just wait for them to pop on my For You page because they do. So, okay. Commercial break for a petition signing. I've heard about Myths and Legends. That one's pretty popular, I feel like, right? This man was 19. This boy, really. This boy was 19. Jesus. I know this is all stuff that we like know, but it's just okay. Have you read the Dresden Files? No, I originally wanted to read the Dresden Files, and then I just like lost interest over the years. It's a pretty large urban fantasy series, and I just don't have a ton of interest in urban fantasy series anyway right now. And if I wanted to read any of them, there's a lot more like female-led ones that I'd actually rather read. It just doesn't seem super appealing to me. Like the urban fantasy genre is like fairly tropey, which I like because I've talked before that I was like raised in urban fantasy. Like that's one of the series I used to read a lot when everyone else was reading Harry Potter. I was reading Nita Blake. So there's a lot of things that are very comforting about it. But if I read too much urban fantasy, it all just like bleeds together. So I'd rather read like the well, I'm still reading the Fifth World series, which I'm like caught up on. There's only 2 books out so far. And then I would probably catch up on Anita Blake before I move on to Dresden Files, honestly, which I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up on Anita Blake, much to Matthew's chagrin. And what's another series? I can like see Alana Andrews, that one. I'd probably read that first. So no real interest in. Will you ever read Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter? I've thought about it, so I almost bought it for the Blackout, what was it called? Blackout Publishing? No, Blackout bestseller list. Everyone was like buying 2 books by Black authors this week to black out the bestseller list. And I almost bought his book, but I was reading like reviews for it. I'm like, oh, I just don't know. Like I keep kind of going back and forth on it. about what it was that I wanted. I also didn't want to read like a particularly, like I've read so much brutal stuff lately that I kind of didn't want to like read that. Like I need to read, I own and have owned Red Leopard, wait, Black Leopard, Red Wolf, Black by Marlon James. So I have that book that's a like very grim, dark, African-based fantasy that I want to read as well. So kind of don't want to like have too much of that on my TBR at once. And that's true of like any grimdark. Like you will not see me with like a ton of grimdark books on my shelf. Like I space them out. So I decided to go with a couple other books instead of getting his. So I think I need to see some more reviews on it and kind of see how I feel, because there seems to be some like mixed thoughts. So I'm not opposed to reading it. Do you watch Daniel Green or Murphy Napier? I've seen Murphy's videos and I watch them sporadically, and I don't really watch Daniel's videos. Nice person. I've talked about him before. Like, I don't have a problem, but him and I actually have like fairly different tastes. Like, I don't think he would shy away from saying that like he started as a Wheel of Time channel. I have zero interest in Wheel of Time. And he reads a lot of like white dudes, you know, and like he's changed that a little bit lately. Like he's grown a bit from what I've seen here and there. But like I'd rather watch people who aren't just talking about the big authors and the big names. And Daniel just tends to do that. No shade. Do not be like, Sam talks shit about you in her live show. Like I'm not. I'm just like across the board. Like I don't tend to follow people whose tastes are like different than mine in a way that I don't need to know about Brandon Sanderson because I'm already going to read him. You know what I mean? So those are videos I don't tend to watch. I tend to follow people that are reading things that aren't as well known, or like have a mix, like myself, kind of, you know, like I'm like, I read stuff that's like fairly well known. I read Brandon Sanderson, I read the big names, but I also will try to find authors that are less well known and have a mix of that. So any kind of channel in any genre that's like too mainstream is like not the right word because that sounds very hipster, but that's too like, if you're reading all the books I already know about, like I don't need to watch you. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to help me. That's not going to give me any new information. And I feel like the longer that you're on like the book community, like that kind of is what happens, because it's like, well, there's so many books that I already know about. And I already have people that I follow that like review those books, that I need you to be doing something different for me to like necessarily want to watch your content. And that's not just true of like Daniel, that's true of a ton of people. So I think he's really been formed on like, again, Wheel of Time and like a lot of that more classic fantasy, I guess. What's your zodiac sign? What's your zodiac element? So what all are you asking? It's because your sign, there's like a bunch of different signs. So my sun sign is Leo, so that's a fire sign. But my moon is Sagittarius, which is also fire. And then my rising is Aquarius, which is air. So I have a lot of fire and earth in my chart. Taking a break for a petition signing. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We are here for a reason. So yeah, those are all of my like signs. But like I said, yeah, I have a very earthy chart and a very fiery chart, and a little bit of air and like not a ton of water. I think I have like 1 or 2 signs in water. Like I might have like 1 or 2 in like Cancer or something, and that's it. Select all the images with chimneys. What the hell? Okay. Have you read Wheel of Time? No. Hi, Cass. How are you doing? Are you drinking enough water and getting enough sleep? Yes. Actually, my like self-care has been like pretty okay. I've still been like tired, and like just generally exhausted with the world, and like finding it very hard to just even like communicate and be social. But like other stuff, like my own, like I'm doing yoga multiple times a week. I've started meditating again. I know it's like so woo-woo for me lately, but like I've meditated most of the days in the last 2 weeks. Not every day, but if I like most days, I've been doing like trauma release exercise. Is that what it's called? I posted about it on my Twitter last week about like dancing it out, like dancing by like really shaking your limbs and like punching and kicking and stuff, and very intuitive, just like not moving and dancing to be like sexy or to the beat, even just kind of like flailing, which releases traumatic energy in your body. It's like proven, because animals, when they have a fight or flight response, they shake off after. And it's a way to like regulate their nervous system again. So I encourage y'all to do that. So that's something that I've been doing. I always drink a lot of water. I always get like at least 7 hours of sleep unless my sleep schedule is like totally fucked up and I go to bed like way too late and then I'm like, don't do that again, and I get up earlier. So yeah, like self-care wise, I've been doing like pretty well, which is great. Do you watch Elliot Brooks? Yes, I do watch Elliot. Again, mostly for like the like she's like kind of my Sanderson content person. Like I've always had like one, like because she does all the Sanderson, I'm like, I don't need to watch anybody else that does Sanderson. What, like a lot of people read Sanderson, but like she tends to do a lot of Sanderson content. So I always kind of have a person that like reads a lot of a certain author or a lot of a certain genre, and once I follow them, like they're the one I tend to go to the most for that. I don't want to say that I don't have a broad viewing platform, because I do, but like certain things, it's like, okay, I already know I'm going to read this book or this author. I don't need like to hear 8 videos from people about it when I've already decided I'm going to read it, you know? And I also don't have time to only watch booktube videos anymore. So I have a lot of things that I watch. Like I don't even watch majority booktube these days, because depending on whatever my current hobby is, I watch the most of those kinds of videos. Will you be looking for witchy booktubers? I've already been looking for witchy booktubers. Oh, wait. Or witchy YouTubers. Hold on. Sign a petition. Okay. And don't chip in money to change.org. Go to individual fundraisers to give money. It's more helpful. So I do watch a lot of witchy YouTubers. Like that's what I've been watching the most lately, like witchy and new age people. So I have watched The Witch of Wonderlust. She's great. I really like Hearth Witch a lot as well. She's really great because she has a really wide history of witchiness, because she used to be Wiccan and in a coven, and she's not Wiccan anymore. She's secular and solitary. So she's really helpful, and she has really in-depth videos. I watched The Green Witch. Who else have I watched? I've watched a lot of like some of the same people over and over, but I haven't necessarily subscribed to them. Oh, I watch Thorn Mooney, I think is her name, who is Wiccan, I think, pagan, Wiccan, both. I forget. And yeah, I just tend to find like, oh, I watch Mint Fairy, who's adorable. Those are the big ones that I've watched. But then I've watched a lot of other smattering of other witchy new age people as well. But those people are really helpful. Really, like now things are popping up my recommends, so I can just like find recommended videos a lot as well. So would you ever read The Poppy War? I own it, and I'm going to probably be reading it either this month or next month. Probably next month, because it's getting to the end of this month. Have you heard about Lore Olympus? Yes. If I could be paid $1 for every time someone has asked me about Lore Olympus, I would have so much more money towards my student loans right now. I am not caught up, but I know that it's on hiatus right now. Like the first season is over, which is crazy because the season's been going on for like 2 or 3 years at this point. But I'm going to catch up and then be on hiatus with everybody else. But I always read it in chunks because I can't handle reading a comic in one issue or one episode, as they call it on Webtoon, sittings. So I need to wait for like 10 to pile up and then like read it almost like I would a trade. Because like even the comics that I read, like physical comics, I don't read them comic by comic. I read the trades because I can't handle it. So yes, I'm very familiar with Lore Olympus. It's not without its faults, but it is one of my favorite Hades and Persephone retellings that I have read. So, would you ever write a book? Probably not. I've talked about this a little bit before. I have like a vague idea of a book that I want to write if I was going to write a book, but I don't really have any desire to. Like, I'm not saying I'm like never say never. There's plenty of people who said they're not going to write books and then they end up writing them. If anything, I could see myself doing more of like a Little Weird's Jenny Slate essay collection, which like who the fuck would want that from me? But like that is what I can see myself doing. I can't really see myself actually sitting down and writing a novel. As much as like the world in my head that I think I could create could be cool, I just don't have the dedication. I have so many writer friends. I've also dated writers in the past, just like dating musicians. So I just like I don't really want to do that. Like I have so many other hobbies that I cultivate that writing is not one that like brings me a ton of joy. I did write when I was younger a little bit, but they were always like, I basically wrote fan fiction without knowing it was fan fiction back in the day. Like it wasn't even really necessarily fan fiction, but I would like read something I liked and then like rip it off, and I wouldn't post it anywhere. I just write it in my own notebooks and like whatever. This was in like sixth grade and up, like middle school, and so I did that kind of stuff. But like I never really want to sit down and like work out all of the kinks of like a magical world and all of that. Like I just don't want to. I love writing and like thinking up individual scenes. Love that. I don't want to connect them. So I can never really see myself being an author. I will be stunned if I ever write a fiction work. Again, I can see myself maybe doing like an essay, not a poetry. No, I'm not a poet. Like essay collection, maybe like a nonfiction book. I would love to be published like in my field. Like that would be great. But I really can't see myself like being a fiction author. Captured in Words. Cass, I have not heard of Captured in Words. Wait, I feel like somebody did post them in a thread recently. I'm definitely going to look them up. Ooh, sign a petition. Not going to catch me slipping. That's what we're here for. This is more fun, though. I like doing this as a group. Are you signing petitions? Don't be watching this and not signing petitions or doing something on your phone for the good of others. Okay. Do you plan to continue the Terra Ignata to Like the Lightning? Yes. It's been a little over a year. It's been 2 years. No, I think I read To Like the Lightning January of 2019. So I do plan on continuing it. I just need to get the books. That series is like fairly overwhelming to me, even though I really like it. But it is kind of like one of those series that's like, it's daunting. But I do want to continue that one because I did really enjoy it. Any thoughts on the conservative response to the Black Lives Matter protest? Not really, because I don't give a fuck about them. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, if you don't have basic human empathy, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. You know, like I'm not going to sit here and argue that like other humans have the rights to safety and freedoms. And especially if you're the type of person that's going into stores right now without a fucking mask on because you can't handle your liberty being taken away. Fuck you. I mean, this is not going to get monetized, obviously. I just don't care. Like at this point, I'm so over trying to be like, we have to try to persuade the right to our side. They don't treat people like humans, so therefore I don't need to like sit here and try to convince them of a difference of opinion. Also, like a lot of people on the conservative side who are so staunchly in their beliefs are not in a stage of like psychologically, they're not in a stage of changing their mind. Like they're in a pre-contemplation, don't even know how they feel and think is a problem if they're being racist, sexist, all the ists. So you physically cannot change those people's minds if they're in pre-contemplation. They are not at a stage to do that. So I'm not going to waste my time with people who feel that way. It's just not going to happen. My time can be better spent elsewhere. So yeah, I'm just like being at this point, especially with how the movement is right now, like you have to be so willfully ignorant, sticking your head in the sand to not be seeing what's happening, to have all these videos, like there's threads of videos that are like in the 500 or 600s of since this all started, which was less than a month ago, right? Or is it almost a month now? Like it's been a very short period of time of just in that time, the amount of like police brutality and things that have happened. How can you stick your head in the sand about that? Like, I can't with people like that. I don't have to be tolerant of you if you're completely not wanting to have basic human empathy and like care about other humans. I shouldn't have to worry about it. What is your most recent book purchase? It's not in here anymore. I just got the Into the Drowning Deep. Is that what it is? By River Solomon. Is that the name of it? And then River of Royal Blood by Amanda Joy are the two books that I most recently bought. Sign a petition. There's a lot of various petitions on here for Breonna Taylor, which I'm still like, how have those cops not been arrested for shooting someone sleeping in their own bed? Like, I hate it here. What do I hate? It here. Do you like fairy tale books like The Cruel Prince? I don't really consider The Cruel Prince like a fairy tale book. I know it takes place in the Fae, but it's not like, or in fairyland, but it's not like based on a fairy tale. I do like fairy tale retellings, but they've gotten kind of um, got like oversaturated there for a little while. So I don't love them as much as I used to. I still will read them here and there, but they're not like a thing I look for as much as I used to. Your skin is so glowy. Thank you. I don't even have anything on my face, which you can probably tell because it probably looks like it's actually not sweaty. It really just is glowy. But yeah, my skin has been like doing really good. So I'm very happy about that. Have you read The City We Became yet? I haven't. I'm actually catching up on her other stuff, so I want to read the Inheritance trilogy, and then I'll probably read The City We Became. Like, I'll probably hold off on The City We Became as long as possible, because after I read Inheritance, then I'll have like, I'll be almost caught up. So yeah. So I'm gonna go back and read Inheritance first, but I will read that series eventually. Have you read the Aragon series? I read the first two books in the Aragon series when I was in high school. And then I never finished it, but I've heard from some people that it like kind of went downhill a bit. So, and I don't really have any desire to finish it. Like, it's fine where it was. I liked it when I read it, but like, it's fine. I did add his newest book, which I'm forgetting the name of right now. It did seem like something that would very much appeal to me. So I do plan on looking at that, especially because he wrote those books, like the Aragon series, as like a kid. Like, I think he's around my age. So now he's like a full adult. So it's going to be interesting to see that. The state attorney general in charge of Brianna's case is a McConnell protege. Oh, love that. Sign a petition. Okay. Damn it, gotta do crosswalks this time. I don't know, is that a crosswalk? It must have been. Shit. Don't you hate when, like, you can't see half of these? Okay. Any advice for dealing with medical anxiety with an upcoming surgery? I've had a lot of bad surgeries before. I'm trying to handle my feelings. Surgery blows, so I hear you. I was prescribed anxiety medicine right before I had my surgery, so that helped. Because it's kind of just like, you can't really, it's hard to deal with like medical anxiety. Like, I think you have to kind of, with anxiety, you tend to get stuck in the bad what if part. And what you have to do is look beyond that. So instead of like obsessing with like, what if something goes wrong, whatever, you kind of have to push through that and be like, okay, think about all the things that are going to happen after. So you kind of are like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into surgery. I'm going to wake up, and then this is going to happen. I'm going to go to rehab for this. I'm going to go home. I'm going to, like, and then I'm, in a couple weeks, I'm going to heal, like, you have to kind of do that and not get so caught in, but what if I die? But what if something like this happens? You have to like pursue that and be like, okay, what if I do? Which like sucks to have to look at. But then also be like, and then what? Because your brain will just stick to the like, but what if I die? And it's like, yes. But then what? It's like, well, then I'll be dead. And then what? I guess I won't know. Like, like you kind of have to like logic your brain out of it a bit. So between that and medicine, meditation can be helpful, but with medical stuff, I find that meditation, like being in your body, is less helpful. So, but results may vary with that. But those are like the three things that I've used. So, what did you think of the turnout for Trump's rally? Why do you guys ask me things that you know the answer to? like, I think the man's a fool. Like, the thing is like, I get my news about Trump speaking from TikTok because I cannot listen to the man speak. He's a fucking idiot. Like, the things that come out of his mouth, I'm like, how do people listen to you and think that you are capable of running a country? it blows my mind. Like they're like again, I was alive and very aware during the Bush era of being president. Everyone said that George Bush was an idiot, and in a lot of ways, he was. But the man could actually speak. Like people used to be like, "Oh my God, George Bush sounds like a toddler." He didn't actually. Trump sounds like a toddler. Like he can't form sentences. So like I mm, yeah. So I only really hear about stuff like from TikTok and Twitter posting things because I can't watch him. Why would I make myself mad? But I think it's very funny how he's just like, you know, we had like a million people. Like I watched the woman on TikTok. Her videos get posted on Twitter too. She's always in a blazer. She has long dark hair, and she does voiceovers of his speeches. Like she will act out his speeches. And when you have her, especially doing it, you're just like, look at how obvious it is how fucking stupid he is. But yeah, you have him be like, millions of people wanted to go to this rally, and it's like, nah. Like none of his rallies have been as packed as he always claims that they are. Like there's always a ton of empty seats. And like the thing is like that's not even like why does it matter how many people you have at your rallies? That's something that like a narcissist cares about, you know? Like I I can't. Um have you gotten any more crystals? Not since my last live. I have not gone to the crystal shop because I need to contain myself. So I haven't gotten any new ones, but I would gladly. I think the next time I need to boost that serotonin, I'll be going to the crystal shop, to the metaphysical store, and picking up crystals because that's like one of the easiest things for me to buy. Plants and crystals. I have gotten plants since my last live show, but I'm doing a plant tour on my other channel on Wednesday, so you guys can watch that there and see all my plants. But like plants and crystals are the two things that I tend to go and buy when I'm sad. I don't tend to go for books because I don't want to have a ton of books on my shelf. Although once I run out of books to read, I will, go buy some more. But plants and crystals, man, nothing makes me happier. Sign a petition. The K-pop teens ruining the rally was amazing. Yeah. And the thing is, someone even pointed out that like everyone reserving those seats didn't actually impact the rally. Like it didn't keep anyone that wanted to go from going because they sell more tickets. Like they weren't really like tickets for sale. Like they had prepared for people to be like outside. Like they like people reserving the tickets didn't like really ruin anything. It just overinflated his ego thinking there's going to be a ton of people there and then there wasn't. But like the amount of people that were there were the amount of people that wanted to be there. Like it wasn't like people were locked out of the rally, but he tried to like make it seem like they were. And I'm like, no, that's not what happened. Damn it, traffic lights. Okay, that's a traffic light. Is that all of it? Verify. Yes. Okay. Mention 3 booktubers you regard as friends. I'm in a book club with like 7 or 8 booktubers that are all my friends. So we talk about each other like fairly regularly. So you should probably know the people I'm friends with. But yeah, outside of House Salt Book Club, I don't know. I talk to like a lot of people. I don't want to like mention 3 people and then like leave out other people. I don't like that. But you guys can see who I talk to on social media and who I mention and who I do like collaborations with. So how are your plants doing? I got a Monstera deliciosa for my birthday and I'm excited. My plants are all doing well. I don't think is anything struggling? No. Everything is doing okay. Well, there is one plant that I sprayed down with pesticide because I think it might have gotten spider mites, but I couldn't see the spider mites, but like one of its leaves were yellowing. It's this whole thing. So it's in quarantine right now. It's rehabilitating, but it's not like dying. Like it's not like actively dying. So I think everything's doing really well. My Monstera is doing great. Most of my plants are flourishing. Like my string of hearts that I only got a couple weeks ago has grown, I think probably a foot since I got it. That's how fast it's growing. So I'm definitely going to be propagating that and putting it back in the soil, making it fuller. Most of my plants are like vining, trailing plants. So a lot of them are just like growing long tendrils. It's great. I love it. Ooh, I'll post that. Friendly reminder. I have watched some of those videos in the background. I'm cooking. I find it really helpful. How did you find your local crystal shops? I looked up metaphysical stores near me and they popped up. You can also look up crystal shops near me. I don't typically it doesn't usually advertise it as like witchy. Like it's metaphysical is like the word that's used. Sometimes spiritual shop is used as well. And there are 2 in my town currently. So that's how I found those. And then I do know some people that know ones that are in like the surrounding area that I wouldn't mind visiting, but that's the easiest way to find them. Do you have any indicator of when you'll be able to move out? I'm thinking it'll be like this season. Like I think it'll be before the fall. I'm applying for jobs, and there's a lot of jobs that I'm like very qualified for. I said this before, like I'm very confident in my career. I'm good at my job, and I have a really fucking bomb resume. Like I'm not that's it. Like I got a lot of training. I have a lot of really good references. I have a really good resume. So it's just a matter of like finding a position that's a good fit for me. I'm only really like I'm very fortunate and privileged enough to be able to be like staying at my parents' house. My money that is in my like emergency fund is dwindling, but not enough that's like I need to be up by the end of the year and making money again. But like there's still some time to work with that. And I can pick jobs that I genuinely want. Like I don't have to cast as wide of a net because I'm specialized, I'm niche, and like I know what kind of environment I want to work in. So it might take me a little longer to get a job because of that, but like I can be kind of selective, which is nice. So I'm thinking that it'll be like by the fall. I would love it to be like by September. And I'm pretty confident that could happen. It all just kind of depends. But like thankfully the job market for social workers, like we're needed, like we're always needed, like especially in this, like I work in medical social work, we're needed. I'm also applying for like just straight up therapy jobs, we're always needed. So I'm thinking that's when it'll be, and then I'll be like as soon as I get a job, I'll be trying to move like immediately, like because I have enough money saved up separate from my emergency fund and like a moving fund. So I have the money to like pay a security deposit, pay the like down payments for like utilities and stuff, and like pay movers. So that's already like set separate. So I want to be able to move like very quickly into a place near where I'm working because I can't stand commuting like at all. Like anything over 20 minutes, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm trying to move closer to where I'll end up working. And hopefully I can do that and it'll be a nice place and I can just stay there for like 3 years or more because I'm so sick of moving. But that's the plan. Sign a petition. Okay. How many books are left in your TBR? I think of my remaining, let me open my, actually, I can tell you directly. Of my TBR that I started the year with, I have 5 books left. And then there are some books that, if you remember at the beginning of the year, like I had just come out of the anxiety flare. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read some like spoopier books. So there are some spoopier books that I've put back on my like after my year TBR is done, I'll read these books. So there's like 5 or 6 more books on that list. So like really like 10, pretty much. Have you read Octavia Butler books and do you have a favorite? I read, is it Beloved? In high school. And no, it's not Beloved. That's Toni Morrison. Octavia Butler, what have I read by her? I swear that I have. I can like see the cover because it's like one of those like wacky sci-fi covers. Because I got it from the library when I was in like high school or college. But I don't remember. I know that Nigiri is going to be doing a Octavia like Butler read along. I think this month. starting on Octavia Butler's birthday, which I think is tomorrow. So check that out if you want to participate in that. I'm on the fence about the Guinevere deception. Your thoughts, thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs middle. If you're really big, I'm not going to continue with the series, so take that with what you will. But if you're a big King Arthur fan, you're probably not going to like it, because I don't care either way with King Arthur. But I have some friends who are really into the myth, and they were like, wow, this like did too much changes. There was a lot of like gender bending in it, which is kind of fun. And the love triangle is not the typical King Arthur love triangle that is in there, but I wasn't motivated enough to continue. Some of the characters people really like are very different. And the main character Reese is like very naive. So like if you're not into some of those things, you probably won't like it. But it was like enjoyable enough to read. I think I gave it 3 stars. But I wouldn't have felt like I missed out. Damn traffic lights. If I didn't read it. It keeps saying that I'm not selecting the right traffic lights, and I am. Now I can't even tell if this picture has parking meters in it. Apparently it didn't. Okay, we're good. My roses start blooming and I'm so happy. Ooh, garden. My cacti, the only plants that can be trusted to keep alive, have started flowering. Cacti are actually like hard, so like good for you, because there's plenty of people who have killed a cactus because they are really sensitive about their watering. So if you've kept a cactus alive, like you're actually like skilled. But people think that like they're easy plants. They're actually not. Cactus and succulents are actually like moderately difficult plants. Do you mind sharing what your niche is? I'm in training to be a speech and language pathologist, so I find it interesting. I am a oncology social worker, but specifically young adult oncology. So I'm very familiar working with specifically the young adult population with cancer. And people act like, oh, like it's no different. It is, because you're like, there's a lot of focus on childhood cancer, and then there's a lot of focus on like older adult cancer. And young adult cancer is just like weird spot where it's like you didn't have it as a kid or weren't born with it, but then you're too young to, you know, as far as like having it as like an older adult. So like young adults have never really had, if they have only had it as a young adult, they have never really had a health scare before having cancer, where like a lot of older people like have had other health scares, so they know how to handle it better. You're at the beginning of your career. You might not be in a committed partnership, you know, still dating, or you're recently like in a committed partnership. So it's very like tenuous. You don't have kids to help take care of you, or you have young kids, or you haven't had kids yet. And then you have all these issues of like, if you are going to like lose your fertility and stuff, if you do want kids, then you're faced with the idea of like, do I want kids or not? Obviously there's a big loss of like independence and stuff. It affects your career because you have to take time off, all this. It's not like you're retired or you can retire. There's so much stuff with young adult. So there's like a specific kind of like anger and frustration that comes from obviously having it as like a young adult, where you're an adult, but you're still younger. And so I'm specialized in developing programs for that, the resources, and knowing all the resources for it, being able to talk to people that are young with cancer, because people that are young with cancer tend to want like a no bullshit approach. Like, it fucking sucks, and let's talk about that, instead of being like, this happened for a reason. Like, no. And like all of that kind of stuff. And I'm also specialized in like young adults that do pass away. Like I've dealt with young adults, you know, people my age and younger that have passed. So like all of that, and the legacy work around that stuff is very like specific. So that is my specialization. So like medical trauma, chronic illness a bit too, since a lot of stuff with like chronic cancer can bleed over into chronic illness. Like I said, grief, supporting like caregivers and stuff, loss after, fertility issues, all of that. So like medically trauma informed therapy based around oncology and illness is my specific niche. But I can do general social work too. you played The Last of Us Part 2? No, I haven't even played the first game. I do own it, but my PlayStation 3 is like kind of buggy and messed up, so I haven't played it yet. And I've been actually catching up on PS4 games, so I'm not opposed. I'm not a big like zombie game person, although I know that game is amazing. Have you read The Kindred by Octavia Butler? Was it The Kindred that I read? There's like a cover, and I feel like there's like a lot of like women on the cover in like a kaleidoscope pattern. I swear that's Octavia Butler. But it was so long ago, and my brain dumped so much information from what I did in like high school and college as far as books that I've read. I read so many books before, like BookTube and everything like that, and I've forgotten so many of them until I see them again, and I'm like, oh, I read that when I was younger, because I didn't like keep track of it. Have you read Petition. Hold on. I'm not a robot. Just let me live. Okay, now I gotta do statues. Cool. That one worked. Have you read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid? No, but I plan to. Any other general lifestyle TikTok recs? I finally came today. I need to teach it what I like. As far as people that I follow that are like general, let me see. See, the For You page is so tailored to you. The For You page will figure out like fairly quickly what you like. I do follow some like cottagecore people. Like one. See, I only follow 24 accounts, so I don't really follow that much. I follow Ryan Starr, Ryan RYNN Starr, who is a Black linguistics, history, and positivity person. She's so smart. I just love her. Follow her; she's great. Mira Bealey is like a cottagecore person. Really, like if you find tags, then you can find people, but like it will know you. Oh, I also follow Astro Forecast. I follow the Truth Doctor. I follow a lot of like psychologists. So I follow the Truth Doctor, who's like a younger therapist who has like therapy techniques. I also follow what's her name? Crefts with a K Couch, who's also a therapist. I follow a couple like animal sanctuary people. I follow Mark Sebastian F, who is a male model who I found because he does these videos on like how to get back at somebody that you don't like in a petty way, which I've never had to use. But like the first time I stumbled across one of his videos, he was saying that like, hey, ladies or gays, everybody else keeps scrolling. And he's like, okay, they're gone. So if you don't like somebody, the next time that you go to their house, take all of their remotes. But leave one. He's like, take their TV remote, take the remote for the LED like lights, take the remote for everything, take the remote for the fan. He's like, but leave one remote. And they're like, there's just a way to inconvenience somebody that you don't like. So I found his videos, but he does a lot of like LGBT history stuff, and then like stuff on the like modeling industry, because he's very pretty. He has very high cheekbones, and just like other funny things. I also follow Bun Daddy, who is this pansexual woman who does a lot of like girl talk advice, kind of like funny videos. I follow Pixie Pie X, who is a kink talker. So she does like kinky sex safety stuff. TMI. I'm not particularly into it, but I really like sex positive content because it needs to be spread around the world, and people need to not feel shame for things unless they are actually actively hurting someone. If they are doing something that is consented by both people, awesome. So I really like what she's doing for like teaching and stuff, and I think she's super cute. She's British and she has really cute hair. Yeah, so that's what I get. So my TikTok For You page is plants, gay women, queer women, a little bit of kink talk, but like not a ton because I don't like a ton of it. I only really like her. Animal videos of various types, a lot of like big cat sanctuary type videos, witch talk and astrology and like woo woo, cottagecore, landscape TikToks of like the Pacific Northwest and various forests. I would say that is my For You page. And it'll figure you out very quickly. People have told me that straight TikTok exists, and it's very different. Like, I don't see the kids dancing. Like, the TikTok dances, I don't see that ever. I don't see the dances. I get a lot of like educational content. I learned a lot. I get a lot of like the Black Lives Matter stuff too, obviously, because a lot of these people I follow post that stuff. So I get a lot of like, the protests and stuff. So I get that like educational content, and not so much the like, I get jokes, but more like animal related jokes and related to my specific hobbies, and not like the dances that TikTok was like known for. So now that I went on that rant, time to do a petition. Ooh, picked up Truth Wish because of you. Yes. Yes. That's so good. I love that series. Continuously. Ooh, I can do the autofill with this one. That's great. And my zip code. Fine. Yeah. Okay. I'm primarily interested in working with adults, but considering working with high schoolers because they are separate from kids. Yes. I have worked in my career with like the entire age spectrum. So like I've worked with babies all the way to like the extreme elderly. And I do not work the best with like little kids, like below like grade school level. Like I can start working with kids like in like adolescence and stuff, but I still prefer young adults because either I'm like close enough to you to be kind of a peer and we're like there's a respect there on that level, but like since I look younger, teens like think I'm their friend, and it's very hard to establish like proper boundaries and therapeutic alliance with that. Like it's just challenging. Like and the way that I talk is very frank and stuff, and so that can be helpful, but it gets very like blurry for teens, and then they start like mouthing off, and I'm very bad with like teen mouthing off and like little kid mouthing off. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. So like I'm not as helpful to teens as some of the people might be. I am with like older teens. It's weird. It really depends on the position because sometimes like when I was doing more like foster care and adoption type stuff, I was like the best person to send in with teens because I wouldn't be like sugarcoating their situation. And I was like one of the people that would advocate if it was healthy to have a relationship with their like birth family if they could. Because I did a lot of adoption in Philly, and Philly is a lot of extended birth family will adopt the kids, so it's not going to like a brand new family, like they're staying within their family and then like still maintaining a relationship with their like parents if their parents are healthy enough to do so. So I did a lot of that where like at the time the agency I was working for was like very small and Christian and awful and toxic, and they would more encourage like, you know, find a nice white family to like adopt them. And I'm like, no, they still have parents who just smoke some pot, and like that's why they're getting their kid taken away, which is like not a good reason. Like I wouldn't do this with the parents that like really did like horrible harm to their like kids and are not capable of caring for them anymore. But like there were so many people, especially in Philly, that were getting their kids taken away because they smoked pot. And like while there is something to be said for like, man, can you just stop smoking pot for like a few months so you can get your kid back? There's something to be said for that. But also like there's plenty of parents that smoke pot and have their children and they're fine. Like I personally don't smoke pot, it's not my thing, but like I don't think it prevents you from being a parent necessarily. So anyway, long tangent on the bureaucracy of the foster care system, but yeah, so I was very helpful for those kinds of situations. But like therapeutically, I don't tend to like love working with teens and like small kids, especially little kids. Little kids exhaust me. Like I cannot keep up with like, oh my God, you drew a circle. That's like so cool. Like I can't. I do not have that energy level. So it's hard to work with like little kids because I'm like, listen, I know that thing that you did is like really cool to you and like your whole world, but I can't get on that level, man. Like, and I know I need to like work with you, but like I can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I like being able to work with people that I can communicate with on a similar level because we're all adults. So, and everyone has their niche, you know? Like, I'm not made to work with that population, but I can work with like pretty much any adult population. So a lot of people like love working with kids. I had a plant in the office before lockdown, hoping his name was Marty, the zebra plant, is still okay. Ooh. Zebra plants might be. I don't know though. Like that long is still like a long time. Have you ever seen late teen and early 20s women highly encouraged to freeze their eggs? I found I had that when I was first dealing with cysts. So as far as like the oncology population, I'm assuming is what you're talking about. Um, there is, it's so weird. Like my experience and the experience of a lot of people that have had cancer young is the oncologists almost like forget that that's a factor because they're so used to working with older people that they are just like, we got to get treatment, because they're focused on like saving your life, right? And it was fine with me because I personally like, I don't really think I want to have kids. Like I'm like a 96% not going to have children. Like, and I will not change my mind about that unless I 100% want to have kids. I'm not going to be like waffly on it. Like that's just my choice. So I was kind of like, nah, I'd be okay with having something to like make it preserved a little bit, but like I'm not going to go through all of this like egg retrieval. Like I don't care, that I would rather not die. Like thank you. So I did something that was like, it basically puts you in medical menopause. And I don't know if that worked or not. Like that's the thing about a lot of that stuff is it's like you don't really know until like later. I saw doctors after that were like, yeah, I think you're good, but like if you want to have kids, have them soon. And I was like, nah, I'm good. But like as of the time that they checked me, they were like, yeah, I think like everything seems fine. So, but a lot of people that I've talked to and like worked with, like the doctors just kind of like skim over it, especially with men, and will just kind of be like not talk about it. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, they can't have kids. Or like I talked to some women that had like they were having surgery like on their liver or something, and the doctor like moved around their reproductive organs and like that made them infertile, and they weren't told that that was a risk beforehand. Again, I don't know all like the details of this. This is what they told me and how they communicated the story. So yeah, there's a lot of that, and really like doctors don't want to necessarily wait to have people like freeze their eggs or something. Like I do know some women that did go through egg retrieval, and that was like a scary thing too because you're getting pumped full of hormones and you're delaying your treatment, and like with some of these diseases like you kind of can't wait. So it is just like it's a whole mess with fertility and oncology. Like it's a whole mess. It's kind of like, what is the right choice? You don't want to take away someone's like ability to do this thing if it's really important to them, but also like if you're dead, then what? You know, so like it's very complicated and doctors kind of brush over it, which is why social workers are there to be like, hey, let's get some other ducks in a row first. Let's have these conversations so that everyone's on the same page instead of like the choice being made for them. Either way. What is your current romance read? I just finished Kiss Me Every Day by Denna Blake, which was an arc. It was a female romance. I don't know what I'm going to read next. I haven't looked through my Kindle yet. I need to look on NetGalley actually and see if there's anything coming up that I should read first. But I might actually go back and read some of my books that I bought at the beginning of the summer that were on like Kindle sale, and read those. Sign a petition. Okay, these are all crosswalks. Is that part of the crosswalk? Nice, nice, nice. It's like a game. I want to get into book talk, but they're all talking about the same 10-ish books. Yeah, there's like, I don't watch any of the book talk. It's so funny because like I'll see book talk videos occasionally and I never like them because like it'll be books from like 2013 that were popular. And I'm like there were people that were posting, and again, no criticism necessarily of this. No intended shade, but also like people were like, you know, your favorite book, and it's like Hush Hush. And then it's like your most recent book, and it's like Fallen. And I'm like, what? Like, is this 2012? Like, what do you mean? And like, it's just very backwards. So part of me is like I have a lot of videos, like I've saved the audio of a lot of like TikTok videos to make my own TikToks, but I think the amount of time it would take, I just don't really feel like I'm going to. But there's are some like funny audios that I want to do for like books or plants or witchy stuff or whatever. So we'll see if I ever do like an eclectic TikTok page. I would have like no theme to it whatsoever. Just be like, this really works with this hobby I have, so I'm gonna use this audio. The kink community on TikTok is amazing. I follow a few creators and they're amazing. Yeah. Again, I don't follow like a ton of people. There's a couple guys that I will come across that are like not creepy that I like. There's a guy that says Ding and his name's Repairman something. He's kind of cute. So there's that. But he's really informative. And then there's another guy. He has a beard and he usually wears a beanie. And he does like duets, whatever they're called, with the girl that I mentioned. So those are the three that I always see on my page. And like I don't see anybody else really because I don't like enough of the content to like get just like kink videos because I'm just like, I'm not here for this. I just support what you're doing, man. Like I appreciate that you're informing the masses about safe practices that are consensual. Cool, but like I don't need the actual information myself. But I really do like them. They're nice people. They seem great. So how are your nails doing? They're good. These are like my current nails, which I did for interviews, so that's why they look shorter and like nude. And this was the first time that I did like the poly gel as just the gel. Like, so this is a colored gel, and I didn't have to paint them. But I do miss my colors and stuff because, I love them. Most of my cohort are super into kids, and I'm over here like I can't even imagine the energy to keep up that affect. Yes. The keeping up of the affect is so exhausting. And the thing is like, especially when I was working in like foster care and stuff, and then I also worked in like family therapy for a little while, and people would be like, "Oh, you must love kids." And I'm like, no, like kids are fine. Like I'm not like a kid hater, but I don't want them. I find kids very exhausting because they are. I don't find my interactions with them particularly rewarding. There's a few exceptions to that, but like there's some people that just like love being around kids and they just like find the work with them so rewarding. And like I just don't. Like I would much rather work with an adult that can like and a young adult and like an older teen that can like is more aware, because like little kids are at different developmental stages where they like aren't aware of like the world doesn't revolve around you, and there's still many adults that think the world revolves around them. I know that, but like technically they're at developmental stages where they do like that, they know that's not true. So like it's just much harder to work with kids, and I would rather work with adults that can like make changes in their own lives. Like kids don't have a lot of control. Like it's just not something that I like. I'm also an only child, and I'm one of the youngest in my extended family, so I was not raised around kids. There's a very good possibility that if I was raised around kids, I'd be more comfortable with them. They don't make me uncomfortable, so that's like not quite a true like phrasing. But like I just don't find the work with them like super fulfilling because the energy I have to keep up is so great. I just can't. And again, it's fine because there's plenty of people who like don't want to work with adults. Like there are so many nurses and social workers that go into work with like they want to work with like the pediatric population, they want to work with kids, they love kids, blah blah. And I'm like, that's great. I don't want to do that, man. Just like I don't want to work with like drug and alcohol counseling. Like it's just not my population. Is there some crossover where I have to work with those people like sometimes and people that have addiction sometimes? Definitely. And I sometimes have to work with kids too, but like it's not my main focus because it is exhausting and there's some things that just you're not as suited for. Sign a petition break. This is like great. I really enjoy this because again, if like we were allowed to leave our houses, well, we are, but like if it was safe to be in groups, I would like just generally be like, hey guys, let's go to the coffee shop, all of our computers, and like do some like armchair activism. Well, actually, if I had friends that I could like see in public, we would be going to protests. But, I don't. There's no fire hydrants in this picture. There was no fire. Okay, stairs. That's a stair. That's a stair. That's a stair. Okay, good. Damn. Why is the Name of the Wind so highly rated? I admit I didn't get to the magic school, so I DNF'd. People like it. I don't know. Books are subjective. I liked it. I like the way it's written. But it's fine that you DNF'd it. Hi, Sam. Did you ever pick up a tarot deck? I own one that I've kept and I'm working with. It's the Steampunk Tarot deck, which I really like. I picked up an Oracle deck from Threads of Fate, and then I ended up ordering Oak, Thorn, and Ash. It was a Kickstarter tarot deck, and it got funded. And then they're doing pre-orders to their website. They also have a Instagram, and it's beautiful. I showed it in another live. It's beautiful, like woodland art that makes me want to cry. And I like messaged them because the shipping is pretty expensive from the UK because they're a UK based artist. And I'm like, I don't know if I can buy this now. I'm not working. Or do you think after this first shipment, you'll have more? And the person was like, I hope so, but I don't know. And I totally get it. Like the shipping is really expensive and I don't know why and it blah, blah, blah. So I ordered it. And it's not going to get here until like August or October, between August and October. So I think what they said. So I'll get it just a surprise randomly one day. But between the Steampunk Tarot and the Oak, Thorn, and Ash, those are like my two tarot decks that I really want. There's been no other tarot decks that like really call to me at this point. So I plan to be a person that has a fuck ton of plants, a fuck ton of crystals, and two tarot decks. And like maybe I'll get more Oracle decks. Like I think that could be fun, but I don't see myself having like a huge collection of tarot decks specifically. I'm a community healthcare worker who works with majority elderly people. I love working with elderly. Exactly. I don't dislike the elderly. It's not my like specialization, obviously, but like I would much prefer working with the elderly than to kids. So much. I think they're like, and the thing that's like fun about the elderly too is like the stories that you hear from like older people are so great, and the stories that you hear from little kids are just like the energy you have to put into it, where it's like, Tommy said this today and I found a ball and I found a rock, and you have to be like, cool, because it's like them experiencing the world and you're like, that's great, but I don't give a fuck. Like just like so like it's very hard for me. But again, I like wasn't raised with a ton of kids, so like my brain has always been this way. Like even when I was a little kid, I'd be like, shut the fuck up, Billy. Like, that's a stupid story. Like I just was never around kids. It's not my thing. Yes, Oak, Thorn, and Ash is gorgeous. If you guys are at all into like pretty art, check out their Instagram because like the art is so pretty. So that's why I got it, because I'm like, I need it. Like I just kept going back to it because I was like, you don't need another tarot deck. You don't need another tarot deck. And then I kept looking at it and I was like, I need this. So the combination of the steampunk and the like woodland art is like, those are the two art styles that like I love the most. So that's what I needed. Have you read City of Brass? I have not yet, but I do plan to own it. I'm going to ask for like a ton of books for my birthday because by then all the books on my shelf will be read. So I'll be asking everybody to get me books because I haven't let people buy me books for like a couple of years. So I've gotten a few things here and there, but mostly I've been like, don't buy me anything. So now I'm like going to be like, go ham. And I'm only probably going to get like 10. So like it's not going to be like a ton, but like I plan on asking for that. Series and stuff. I'm gonna actually continue with a lot of series I already have started. So I'll be doing a video about that though. As a person who loves kids, I don't understand why anyone would ever pressure another person to have a child they don't want. Plus, as a young adult, I'm glad you've got me if I ever get sick. Thanks. Yeah, like I don't really understand the people who get really sign a petition, who get very like defensive if you don't want to have kids. Like it doesn't affect them. But it seems to be this weird thing that people are like, I think there's a lot of people that had kids that didn't really want them or that feel trapped in having kids. And so they feel like they want you to suffer with them. Like that's the impression that I get from some people that get like so mad about people not wanting to have kids. It's like they're the same people that like bitch about their kid being like annoying. And you're just like, why would I want this thing that you claim to hate? So I get like, that's what it feels like to me a lot of times. Or like when someone can't understand that, like if their whole purpose in life was to be a parent, because people are like that are like, I've always wanted to be a parent. It's only the only thing I wanted to do, whatever, that's fine. Like, I don't want to take away your like wish to be a parent, but they're like boggled that you don't want that same dream. And I'm like, but if you wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to be a lawyer, you wouldn't be like, no, you need to be a doctor, Like, it does not make sense to me. Are there any readathons you're looking forward to? Not that the newts may not be happening. I'm looking for a new one. Yeah, sad about the newts, although I completely understand why, but I wish that she had a chance to change things around before and make it like not necessarily Harry Potter themed. I'm going to be doing a tome topple next month. So like, because I know people are kind of coming out of quarantine a little bit, but I want to, while a lot of us are still in it, I want to do like as many tome topples as possible. So I'll probably be doing one next month. I'll tell you the actual dates once I figure that out, which I need to do soon because it's coming up. And then I probably won't do another one again until November. But I'll do a tome topple. And I think that's the Tome Infinity and Beyond readathon is happening, and that's a sci-fi readathon. But I don't have any plans besides tome topple to participate in any readathons coming up, because at this point, like, my TBR is decided because I'm finishing all the books on my shelf and I don't have that many left. So I don't need a readathon to like help me pick stuff out right now. Sometimes we have to work with mental health, substance abuse, etc. And I feel people working with that section of the population should have specific training, which I do not. And working with them makes me feel pretty uncomfortable. Maybe a horrible thing to say, but it is what it is. I don't think that's a horrible thing to say. I think that like you're uncomfortable because you're not adequately trained. Like there are very specific ways to work with certain populations, especially like certain severe mental illnesses, some of the like the personality disorders and stuff. Like there are very beneficial ways to work with that population. Same thing with drug and alcohol. Like there are very specific ways to work with those populations. So it's like you're uncomfortable because you're not trained or used to it. So like that's not you. I don't feel like that's you saying like they're bad people, I don't want to work with them. It's like you don't have the training to help them in the way that you want to help them, so then you're uncomfortable. Like that's how I feel if I have a patient. Like we would get a lot of like schizophrenic patients in hospice, and like that's a population that I'm not familiar with working with, and it makes me very uncomfortable because I don't know, like I don't have the skills. I have a little bit now from like having a few of the patients, but like I don't have the training specifically for that population, and I want to be able to help them as best I can. I don't want to just like wing it, like that's not helpful to anybody. So yeah, that's how I feel about it too. Like, and honestly, drug and alcohol, like counselors and stuff get paid fucking garbage and they deal with a ton of shit. So, and like a lot of times they are trained like on the fly, and they should definitely be trained like before they even get into it. A lot of social work, mental health, all of that is very much like on the fly training, which sucks. So I wish we had like a more rigorous training program for some of these populations, because then we'd all be more confident about it and it'd be great. Ooh, petition time. Crosswalks again. What a crosswalk? I can't tell. I think that might be one. Damn it. Damn it. I don't like this game. Damn it. Are you a taxi? I can't tell if you're a taxi. Yes. Why is a robot trying to make sure I'm not a robot? That's what I want to know. People telling other people that they're going to change their mind about something like having kids are just the fucking worst. Like, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but like, that's none of your business. I wanted to have kids until I was like 25 years old, and then I was like, nah, no kids for me. Societal pressure was definitely the key factor in that crazy idea for my life. Yeah, when I was younger, like until my early 20s, I kind of was like, yeah, I'll have kids. I think I'll have kids. Like it was so funny. In my head, I thought that I was going to be I've forgotten this because it's been a while since I thought this, but I thought that I would be married by 24 and have kids by 27. No, that is not, no. The person that I would have married at 24 would not have been a compatible person for me long term. And nope, nope, not for me. Not for me. But a lot of that was very much like I was raised in the Midwest and in like a Christian schooling, which even though I didn't agree with a lot of the Christian schooling stuff, there's just this like indoctrination of like meeting your soulmate, getting married, having babies, even though it's like that was never really my personality. Have you looked at Fantasy-a-thon? It starts in a few days. I have not, but I will. But like I said, I basically have my TBR that I am going to be reading, so I don't necessarily need that. Yeah, I heard she's running newts on Discord, but I'm not sure I love that. I mean, it's her choice, but I'm kind of like, I think she's just kind of like scrambling to figure out what to do, which is totally valid because I can't imagine the amount of people that like have businesses or like jobs or like podcasts and just things centered around Harry Potter that now have to be like the fuck and like reassemble everything to not be offensive, obviously, and to make sure that nobody feels like excluded and stuff. So yeah, having to do that and scramble kind of last minute to get that done, I feel for her. But yeah, so maybe I'll participate, maybe I won't. August tends to be like a not great reading month for me. So we should all do what's best for our children. And sometimes that means not having any. I'm far too selfish to be a parent, at least right now. I want to have some adventures first. I mean, that's kind of how I feel too. Like the goals that I have for my life do not align very well with parenthood. I don't like, and just my personality doesn't align very well with parenthood. People always are like, I'm too selfish to be a parent. And I used to say that, but that gives it like a bad connotation. It's just that like my personality does not align with parenthood. That doesn't make me selfish. It's just like, I don't like having other people like have control over my life. And someone would be like, well, that's selfish and you like, would love your kids. But it's just like, I just want to be able to do what I want, generally speaking. And as an adult, I can do that. As an adult with kids, I cannot. Like, I don't ever want to be tied to another person as a parent, you know, because like it's one thing to potentially like get married, be in a committed relationship, whatever. And if you need to separate, then it's two adults separating. But then when you have kids involved with it, it becomes so much more complicated. And then, you know, you might want to stay and whatever. Like that's just something that I don't want to have to deal with. Just not being able to move or leave my job because it's like, well, we have to worry about the kids or we have to worry about, you know, like keeping them in school and whatever. It's just like, I don't want to feel that level of like trapped. And I would. Some people wouldn't. Some people are like, that wouldn't make me feel trapped. That's fine. I would. So yeah, and like sometimes I get annoyed with like if I'm sitting on the couch and my dog wants to like go out and I'm just like, damn it, I don't want to take you out right now. And doing that doesn't like saying that does not hurt the dog. Like it doesn't hurt their feelings. But if something similar happened with like a child, they'd be like, now I have attachment issues. You know, like I know all the ways that you can fuck up children. So I'm just like, nah, man, I don't want to be involved in that. So again, it's not like I'm not saying it's completely a non-possibility, but I would have to change to I would 100% do want to have kids instead of I pretty much think I don't. Another factor that destroyed the plan is that I'm totally aro ace. Yeah, I mean, like you can still be aro ace and have kids, but yeah, it just like makes it maybe slightly more complicated. What specifically did JK say that was transphobic? Um, Flat out said that like trans women aren't women. So she has not been pro trans for like years. She has said things like I'm okay with trans people. I have trans friends, but then has been like, trans women aren't women. It's this very weird feminism that is like so focused on like the womb and the vagina as like making you a woman. And this level, like this kind of feminism gets a very defensive of like other people identifying as a woman. And I don't know why, because it doesn't threaten your femininity. Like if someone else is a woman and says they're a woman, but they don't present in the same way that you do, it doesn't make you less a woman. But for some reason they get really upset and be like, you're, like threatening my femininity. It's like, no, so like, it's very bizarre to me. Like that level of like defensive-ness about womanhood and like sacred feminine. And there's a lot of this actually in like some of the witch community. Like I've read a witch books and stuff that people have said are like kind of turfy because they've been like so obsessed with like, as a woman your magic comes from your womb, and it's like, no, like I can get behind like being a powerful woman, but like it doesn't have to be like the only thing. So yeah, but there's a lot of you can Google that for all the things that J.K. Rowling has said, because I don't think people would be reacting the way that they are if it wasn't bad. So, and she's been saying this stuff for years, but she just said it under the wrong climate, and now people are like, fuck you, because she's been saying this stuff for years. There's also African Fantasy and Science Fiction Readathon in July, hosted by Soila Kenya. I have not seen that. Like I said, I've seen Najiri is doing the Octavia Butler, I'm pretty sure, readathon. So, girl, don't feel bad for not having kids. I completely agree with you. Oh, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. I talk about it because I think that when people are watching me, I'm an influencer, whatever the fuck that means. It can be comforting to hear someone share their similar opinion. So that's why I'm saying it, but I'm not saying it to like defend myself, because I don't give a fuck. And thankfully, like, my family is not a family that like pressures me to have, like, nobody else has pressured me to have children in my life. It's always been just like weird coworkers that have been like, you'll have kids one day. And I'm like, no, I won't. Probably not. So So I love my trans sisters and I agree, but are we supposed to cancel everyone who disagrees with us? It's not about canceling people that disagree with you. It's about not letting people have influence that have actively harmful ideas. I think especially the fact that like in the United States, there's been things that have happened that have like removed trans healthcare rights and things, and trans people are much more likely to be murdered, much more likely to commit suicide. Like anything that is putting their lives in danger is harmful. So it's not a matter of a difference of opinion. It is like your words as a major influence. J.K. Rowling is a very famous person. Like your words are actively harmful. So it's not a matter of a difference of opinion and canceling people who disagree with you. Like that is not what's happening. I want to make that very clear. It is much more serious than that. I just don't agree with the cancel stuff. Help people do better. So the thing that's harmful with that is you're asking people who are actively being harmed to then give more emotional work to somebody to try to change their mind. And especially with somebody as entrenched as she is and who digs their heels in, like, we don't owe you that. There are plenty of people who would maybe try to change someone's mind, but like it's not my responsibility or a trans person's responsibility or whatever the case may be for whoever we're talking about to change someone else's mind if you are actively harming someone. It's the same, like, this is a very extreme example, but it's as if someone is punching you in the face and you're like, violence is bad. I need to change your mind. You're a good person, and I know you're a good person, and violence is bad, and they are punching you in the face. Sure, some people can believe in turning the other cheek. You don't have to, though. So people have every right and are completely justified in being like, I am no longer going to support this person, especially because J.K. Rowling is not an idiot. Like it's one thing if somebody is ignorant and like does not have the knowledge and does not have the resources. J.K. Rowling is a very famous author who is online, who I'm sure has people around her that can educate her, and she's choosing to not take that in. If you're a person who was like raised maybe in like a very small town, who like has, no idea and has never been exposed to these issues, and you're learning, that is one thing. But even in that case, people do not have to educate you. Like that is not a burden that you lay at someone else's feet, especially someone else who's being actively hurt. I have a daughter but got my tubes tied because I don't want more kids. My grandma literally said, "But what if she died?" I'm very grateful that I don't have a family that like is very concerned with like birth and like having kids. And hopefully whoever my partner is in the future also does not have a family that cares about that, because I am not about that. You are my favorite booktubers because you're so articulate when you talk. Thank you. I feel like sometimes I stammer, but it's okay. The fact that J.K. Rowling shared her transphobic letter during Pride Month is so gross. Yes, it's also a matter of like everything she did was awful, but it's also like read the room. Like why do you feel the need to do this during Pride Month, during the Black Lives Matter movement? It was almost like people aren't paying attention to me, so I'm gonna say something fucking stupid. Like I don't understand. I don't understand. I wish she would have stayed offline, because it was a happier time. You know. People really cancel. People cancel for everything nowadays. I don't really care about JK really. I just think cancel culture is a little out of control personally. So I used to kind of think this too, but and I know it can feel kind of exhausting sometimes to see people like being canceled. But the thing is if you look at the amount of people that have been canceled, they don't really suffer from being canceled. So like, although, for example, like the online community might be canceling somebody, they don't really, they end up on top in the end again. Like they're like, it may seem like everyone's canceling J.K. Rowling, but the majority of book fans and Harry Potter fans probably don't even know about what she said because they're not really online. Like our book community, we feel like is indicative of like the rest of the book space and all the readers, and we're actually not. So like there's a lot of people that just like don't know. Um, there's a lot of books that like have been canceled by the book community that are bestsellers because people don't know. Um, People like Jeffree Star, James Charles, Tati, all these beauty gurus that have been canceled over the years still have millions of followers and supporters. So this idea that like cancel culture actually harms the people that are being canceled like isn't really true. Um, so while it may feel like it's like over the top and much, like it's kind of not. And cancel culture came primarily from the Black community as a way to protect their community and a way to protect each other and to kind of tell everybody like, hey, that person is dangerous. So, and that was also adopted by like queer spaces and other spaces that have, or like marginalized communities. So like cancel culture was not intended to tear people down necessarily, even though some people think that that's what it is. It's really just being like, hey, we're pulling our support from that person because they actively harm us. So it's not really the destructive thing that like the media or people that are like against cancel culture really say that it is, because it doesn't actually do the destruction that people think that it does. I appreciate the space to discuss this with everyone. Yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about it and, like just sharing the information. Speaking of, uh, let's do a petition. Maybe two, because I talked for a little bit. If I can find one specifically that's about like trans Black people, that would be great. Although I signed one earlier, so mean, not that I only have to sign one, but there was one already on here at the beginning of the list. All right. Sign this petition. I don't want to do any more robot. Okay, good. I didn't do a robot on that one that time. Ooh, here's another. There's like a Google Doc attached to this one with a bunch of links. Okay. Just did 2. We're more tired of J.K. Rowling's BS rather than trying to cancel her. Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, she's had so many opportunities to learn and she just refuses to. So, how far into a relationship do you personally wait until you have the kids conversation if you're comfortable answering? So it's been a while since I've like dated long enough to like have the conversation, but like on like online dating platforms, for example, I filter out any men that have kids and that want kids. And then I filter out women that want kids, but if they already have kids, it's kind of okay with me. That's a discussion I could maybe get into. It's about like gender roles and all this stuff. Anyway, so on that, it's like I filter out for people that want kids, so it's like kind of off the table from the beginning. In dating, like normally, I guess you could say, it's hard to say. Like it kind of depends on the person. I would tell people like on the first date if somebody asked me, like, "Do you want kids?" I'd be like, "Nah." 96% no. And don't think that you can change my mind about that. Honestly, on a first date, if someone did ask me, I'd probably say 100% no, so that they wouldn't think they could change my mind, because the 4% possibility is not for someone else to change my mind about. You know, like it's not really dependent on that. Like, you know, I'm just leaving it open to like, hey, I know things change sometimes, but like I don't think that I will. So yeah, like I'm pretty open about it, and I kind of seek out people in circles that I kind of suspect will be like not wanting kids, you know? I think that my general demeanor kind of sends a like not kid vibe as well. So like it's never been like a major concern. My most recent partner wanted kids when we first got together. When I said I didn't really want them, like was kind of okay with it and was like, well, whatever you want to do. And then when we broke up was like, I need to find someone to have kids with. So like whatever. So I'm kind of like, I only want to really be with people that are like neutral and are kind of okay to go with the flow and do whatever, or like don't want them, you know? Random, but glad you thought The Winner of the Witch was perfection. I literally needed you to embrace the awesomeness that is that masterpiece. It actually is completely perfect in every way. I mean, I love that whole series, but like, ugh, what a masterpiece. I will reread like just that book. So, oh no. Speaking of Beauty Guru drama, did you hear about the current Dramageddon 3 and the rumor of Tati dropping a video tomorrow? No, but I do watch um, why did I just Smoky Glow, who is a beauty guru and mostly commentary channel. She's also a social worker, so I love her. And she will probably do a video on it. I only really find out about beauty guru drama these days through her. I don't follow any of them anymore. Like the only beauty guru I follow is her and Samantha Ravendall. And I think that's it for beauty gurus. I'm pretty sure. Because at this point, like I know what kind of makeup I want and that I do, and I don't really need to like I don't need any new makeup. Like I'm not in a makeup buying stage of my life. So I don't need them. And I really just follow those two for their personalities. So I only really find out drama from her, but she posts about all the drama and I love it. I'm fairly sure J.K. Rowling is not going to suffer from cancel culture. Yeah, like she'll be fine. Which is why people like deciding not to support her anymore is like fine because majority of people like won't know what happened. I had an ovarian cancer scare at 16 and thought that if I got my ovaries removed, I'm not a woman, and that's ridiculous. But the female body parts are strongly tied to femininity in society. Yeah, it's really fucking gross. There's a lot of people that I've talked to, women that I've talked to that had mastectomies, had their breasts removed because of breast cancer, and their husbands were like no longer attracted to them, which is more proof that cis men are trash, like cis straight men are trash, because this was mostly like boomers and stuff. So yeah, really nasty. Just the societal thing about like women not being like fully women until they're mothers and like motherhood being the peak of femininity. Like I fucking hate it. It's really gross. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff with like cancer and illness and stuff where people like, you know, have to have hysterectomies or mastectomies or whatever. And it's like, I'm not a woman anymore. Like I even sometimes struggle, like not so much, I wouldn't say struggle, but like there are moments when I was getting back into dating that I was like, should I grow my hair out to be more classically feminine if I want to date men also along with women? And it's like I'm still a woman and I still look like a woman, and I don't want to date a man anyway that's so fragile that he'd be like, wow, the fact that your hair is kind of short on the side and back is like, I can't deal with that. So I had to kind of like talk myself out of that a bit, and it was just like a fleeting thought, but I still had the thought even though I don't agree with any of that. So yeah, it's fucked up. I hate it. I get what you're saying about cancel culture, but the mainstream still thinks Johnny Depp is an abuser because everybody jumped on that hate bandwagon super quickly. So I don't know. The mob is powerful. Um, this is a very separate, specific Johnny Depp Amber Heard issue. I think they abuse each other. I've talked about this in like a live before when this was like happening or like right after it happened, that like when it came out that like she did stuff. Like I think they were in a toxic relationship where they abused each other. So they're both shitty. So him being, and he hasn't been like punished. Like he's still been like in things. People still see his movies. Like he wasn't like removed from, you know, the Harry Potter movie. What movie? The Fantastic Beasts. Like he's still making money. I still see thirst traps of him posted on things. Like he's fine. You know, like this would make more sense about people being scared of like mob mentality and cancel culture if it wasn't about celebrities, because like celebrities are fine. Like Johnny Depp is fine. Johnny Depp has made a ton of, you know, pirates movies. Like the man is fine. We don't need to be worried about the mob coming after him. And like, and again, that's just one example, but there's been also things like that came out. It wasn't even just like him and Amber Heard stuff. Like there's other women that have been like about how he was. So like they were toxic with each other. They're both wrong. So yeah, but that's a specific thing about Johnny Depp. So that's like a little side tangent. What books do you think might be popular next year? I haven't looked at next year's releases, so I don't know. I don't tend to look at next year's releases until like winter because then I figure out what's actually coming out. So I'm really just keeping track of like at the latest like this winter's releases, because a lot of the publishing houses have sent out like what's coming up. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's coming out next year that would be like a big book. I just don't tend to keep track. I don't understand why everyone wants biological kids. It's not good for the world, but everyone wants to be the exception. Yeah, like there's just so much tied to like the family unit and the way that our societies are structured around petitions. Keep forgetting the way that our societies are just structured around the family and the family unit and like patriarchy around that as well, and just like a lot of just really gross stuff. So yeah, there is an obsession with that that's just not really necessary. Smokey Low is great. She's great. Smokey Glow already posted a video about it? Okay, I just haven't seen it yet. I love her. Just started reading Red Sister. It's a good series. It's a good series. Okay, let's see. Now I'm just going into the Black Lives Matter page. Okay, trans rights. Perfect. Gonna do that while we're here too. Okay. What's a good fantasy with a group focus rather than a chosen one trope? Bonus points for angsty romance. I think I've done videos on like multiple POV kind of stories. I hate to kind of like give recommendations on live streams because like I'm gonna forget books. Like there's and I don't want to do that. Like when I do recommendations videos, like I sit there and I go through like all the books that I've read and find all the books that fit. Um, so I don't like to just kind of like be off the cuff about it on live streams because my brain cannot focus enough to think of every book that I've read with that kind of like a trope in it. But there's a lot of like, all like the heist story, found family kind of books fit in under that category. A big part from experience I've noticed is men like the idea of seeing their wife or girlfriend pregnant with their child, and if it's not their biological child, it's not the same. There is something like really gross about that. Also, it is statistically proven that there is a higher risk of domestic violence if there is a man who is not the father of a woman's child living in the same home with that woman and her child. So, like a step parent situation, particularly father or a boyfriend, and like that's not his kid, he's more likely to beat both of them. Like, what is it with the weird like bloodlines that people get like so obsessive with? It's gross. It's gross. Yeah, anytime men that's the sentence. Anytime men like, but anytime dudes are like, go through this really horrible thing for your body so that we can have a baby. I'm like, please jump off a cliff. So yeah, that kind of stuff like really makes me mad because men have to do the least when it comes to anything with kids, and they feel like they have the most say, and they don't. Sorry. I'm at home, so I'm gonna wash my hands. Don't worry. I joined late, so not sure if you're talking about how's living with your parents going. Saw your post the other day and having to move back home at age 30 for a year, and I love my parents, but no. It's been like mostly fine. Like I said that with the like we haven't had like a lot of huge fights or like huge rows or whatever. There's been like a couple because my dad and I do not share political views, but we also like deeply love each other. So there's that. We're just very similar. But it's more like the I'm so used to having control of my own life and like my own space because like they don't tell me what to do. They don't tell me when to get up or go to bed. They don't make comments on that. They don't tell me what to eat. They don't do a lot of stuff that is like very annoying to people that move back as adults. So that's great. What is stressful to me is I just want to be able to like kind of do my own thing without worry about anybody else's schedule. Even if they're not imposing it on me, like it's still stressful. And there's just things that like I can't decorate the space that I like the way that I want it to. Or some people would be like, well, that's a stupid thing to be like concerned about. But it is like I was in my own space that was completely cultivated by me. And if you've never had that experience, it's like so fucking soothing. And like I can't do yoga every day the way that I'd want to because my room's not big enough. So I would have to do it out in the living room. I can only do it on the days that they're working. So like that is not as helpful. And what's been most stressful actually has been seeing the problematic patterns that I learned as a child that when I left my house and went to therapy as a young adult, I unpacked but didn't see the root of. And now that I'm home and an adult with a mental health master's degree, I'm like, oh, like, and that's not to say that my parents are bad people, but I'm like, oh, like any kind of like, there's different core beliefs that I have, there's different communication patterns that I have and continue to break down. Um, there's ideas about relationships that like I had to break down, and I see it in real time, and I'm like, so it's stressful. And then there's obviously like with the pandemic, my dad specifically is very much like it's not a big deal. Bitches about wearing a mask, um, stuff like that. He's in his 80s, so like that's just where he is, and that's very difficult. Where if I wasn't living with them, I'd be like, fine. Or like my mom's brother will come over and I'll hide in my room. And he hasn't tried to stay the night yet, thank God, because he was doing that before the pandemic started, which was stressful just by itself. And then it's like, it's a pandemic, and you cross state lines to get here. Can you not be in the house? So just like things like that that aren't huge, but are just like stressful and not fun. And I want my cats back. My cats are living next door. I would like them back. I would like to just like be responsible for myself and myself only, and in my own space. And yeah, I want it back. So yeah. Oh God, and when men are mad or sad that they have a daughter instead of a son, gag me. I live in like slight fear that there's a good possibility that even though I am bisexual, that I will end up with a man as much as I hate that. Just because I do like find them um easier to date's not the right word. I don't know, maybe it's compulsive heteronormativity. Um, a lot to unpack for a live stream. But I get afraid that I'm gonna be trapped with the man that's a secret misogynist and that he's going to cover it up with like intellect for a little while, trap me, and then be like that, like men that, um, again, which is why I don't think that I'll like have kids. So it's not even really a concern, but men that feel like when they're watching their kids, they're babysitting and not just parenting, shit like that. Um, Wanting to like pass on their family name. I really hope that I end up with somebody, whoever it is, where we can hyphenate our names. I would love that. I've also heard about people that like create a new last name with an amalgamation of their names, which I think is really cool. I don't love the idea of taking on a husband's name in particular. I didn't used to be this way, and in the last few years, I've been kind of like, I don't like it. So like, because I like the idea of like you're two families that have combined, so now you're combine those. You know what I mean? Um, that's a whole side tangent. That's not about people having daughters and sons, but that's another thing that I just am like, I just don't want someone to fool me. It was the same for me. I had my own life, but after moving, living on my own for 10 years, it sucked to be moving back. Yeah, when you have your own space, particularly if you've lived alone. Like I've lived completely alone, for the last like it was like a year and a half, and that was like beautiful. And again, my parents like do not put a lot of restrictions on me. Like there have been times that I've taken a nap on the couch in the living room, like fallen asleep in the middle of the day, and they haven't been like annoying and like get up or like why are you sleeping? They've just been like you're fine, you're not working, and like you're fine. Like they don't do any of that. So like there's a lot of things that could make this living situation worse. I'm just a highly independent person with someone who likes to control the aesthetics of their own space, the people that are in it. Um, and I can't do that here. So, Most couples, sorry, I made a face. Most couples I know who maybe want kids, I ask how many and whatnot, and the guys almost always say 5 plus, and the women gets huge eyes and like gets quiet. Why do men do that? Why do men do anything? I that's just like the epitome of not knowing how much work it takes, of not carrying the amount of abuse that puts on a woman's body. Like to be pregnant, like being pregnant takes years off of women's bodies. It's fine if they want to do that, but like men don't realize that. They don't realize all the stuff that goes into pregnancy and birth. They don't understand the like amount of physical toll, and also like the societal pressure of women to both work and take care of the kids, and men, even if they're really good parents, like still typically don't do as much. Even like the best of men in straight relationships. It boggles my mind. I find it funny because men don't fully understand how fertility treatments work. I remember trying to explain to an ex-partner you can't regrow ovaries. All fertility treatments do is increase what's there. Yes. In general, especially in America, but I know it's probably around the world, people don't know about their own bodies, let alone the like opposite biological sexes bodies. People have no idea. Like it is, I mean, I feel like women are taught more about men's bodies, um, because of all the issues, but like men don't understand like the amount of men that I've heard. I've never heard a man actually say this to me, but like that I've heard been like, how do women pee when they have a tampon in? And like it's just shit like that. That's just like so. How do you not get like this is half of the population? Um, so yeah, the little amount of knowledge and little desire to learn too is like, oh, I hate it. Do you have any advice on how to pack up books when moving? Um, do it early. I still prefer just the boxes from like a home improvement store like Lowe's. Don't go to Home Depot because they donate to Trump. And getting like the small ones and then packing by, I personally just like, my shelves are already organized kind of by size of book. So I just stack them in that way. But then I leave all of those boxes open because obviously like they won't necessarily perfectly match up. And if I'll fill a box completely, and then I like dump other little things in to fill the space. So that's how I pack my books. And then I write on there on the boxes. I do this for everything actually. I write like everything that's in the box, like everything. I don't write the individual titles for books, but I'll put like these are all of my YA fantasy A list because I have like an A list and a B list, and like this is all of my adult sci-fi. These 3 Funko Pops. I don't really. Do I even have 3 Funko Pops anymore? I don't know. These 3 Funko Pops are in there. This bookend. So like I know where everything is. So that's really helpful too. Hi, Mary. Sorry. It like I have to scroll down and then it scrolls up. And it's just like this whole thing. Okay. I'm so pleased fewer books and series are ending with the marriage and kids happily ever afters now. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that that's like less of a thing. It's still like kind of thing. Like every time I get to the end of a romance book, I'm always like, please don't be married with kids. Please don't be married with kids. Because usually there's like a 30% chance that there's going to be like a epilogue that's going to have like the married with babies. But some people really like that. So like I don't want to take that away from people that really like it. I just don't want it to be like always the expectation. It's so crazy being adults and seeing our parents through an older mindset. It totally is. I totally get that. I totally get the my own space, my decorations at home reduce my anxiety. I need it. Yes, like I have cultivated my space so highly with like what I want and love to have around that like I just don't. It's not like my parents' decorations are bad. They're just not mine. So like I want my stuff. And I want to do like my own thing. Like, like my mom comes home, as is her right from work, and she wants to watch like her dumb TV shows, which is her right. But like, I don't want to sit in the living room and watch dumb TV shows. I would not have the TV on. Like, I've watched way more TV since being home that I've watched in the last like 6 years because like I have more than that. probably like 8 years, because I haven't had cable in all of my previous living situations. And it's like I don't have cable because I don't want it and I don't like it and I don't want to like just watch it mindlessly, but if it's on, I will. And like I just don't want to deal with that. Like I get way more done when I'm just like on my own. And then when I choose to come and hang out with them on my own time, when I want to see them, you know? Your skin looks so good. Thank you. Oh my God, secret misogynist is my biggest fear too. So you guys are saying, like, a lot of the women in here are saying that, secret misogynist is their worst fear. It really is. Like, it's just like, I don't want to be tricked. And I don't think that I would be tricked. Like, I think my intuition would not allow me to be tricked. However, my last partner ended up like kind of like having some problematic things that he hid from me for a while. Also, I met him at a time and like grew while we were together separate from him. So I don't think I was necessarily as tricked as I felt at the end, because like when we met, some of these things I wouldn't have known would have been as problematic, you know? But I grew, as you do. So I'm just like, oh, I don't want you to trick me. Mix your names. It could be so cool and unique. Yeah, I really like the idea of mixing names, like a lot. Like I like the symbolism of you're starting a new family unit, and that's what happens now. There's like a 99% chance I won't marry, but if I happen to, I don't plan on changing my last name. Yeah, I also kind of like don't want to change my name because my like master's degree has my name on it. So like I don't like that's my name that has my accomplishments on it. Not that it like takes that away, but like I like my name, you know? You can take my name if I marry a man. My fiance's last name is Brenna and mine is Hennessy. We call ourselves Brennacy, and I actually would want to make our last name when we get married if we ever do. I like that. I always never cared about changing my last name when I get married, but in the last few years, I'm like, I already have a last name we can share. Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm just down with that, especially because like people used to change their names because of like, um, property and stuff like that. Sign a petition while you're here. Um, so yeah, I just don't like the idea of that. I wonder why do men do that on a poster? Same. like, because I think it frequently. The theme of this live is, can men just like not? See, that's the thing. Like I don't hate men. Sometimes people might think like I hate men, and I know you guys know that I don't hate men. I don't. I'm thinking of that Cher quote, like I love men. Men are great. um, but like they are programmed and part of a system that does the most, well, really the least. And I'm just like, I want you to not. Like, I want you to be emotionally intelligent. The fact that there's like so many men that like don't know how to take care of themselves because society has trained them just to like rely on women. The fact that married men live longer and married women live shorter lives because of the stress that men cause them. Like, there's so many things, and I just want them to realize their faults. Like I am very self-aware of my issues. I'm aware of my race issues. I'm aware of my like any privilege that I have. I'm very aware of it. And if I'm not, and someone calls me out on it, I take that in. I internalize that. I work through it. I process it. I think about it. And I would just like more men to do that. I would like more men to defend femme-bodied people against like rapists and abusers and stuff. Like I just want them to like be allies. The same, like I would like all of humanity to be allies with everybody else that are good and take down the shitty people and live in a utopian society. I would like that. I can't get over men, like adult men being so dumb. And there's plenty of great ones. Like I've met some good men. They exist. They're so hard to find. Like I want them to do better. It is out of a place of love because I see some of their faces and I'm like, you're so cute. And like I like the way that your body moves and stuff. And sometimes you smell nice. And I want you to do better. Like it is out of a place of like, you could be so much better than this. And if you just embraced your full power and potential, you could do so much good. And I just want them to do that. The level of misunderstanding between men and women in heterosexual relationships is so frustrating. I'm gay and I remember how confused I was when boys and girls suddenly started trying to communicate. It really is alarming. It's very alarming too, as like a person who dates multiple genders, to experience the communication between me and men and the communication between me and queer people or women, which would be queer people in my case. So like, and like, bless, most trans men don't fall into the same category. Like they know how to talk like normal people. Like anybody who's like not binary or trans or a woman, like they know what's up, and men just like aren't taught because society doesn't teach them. And I'm over it. The volume inside of this bus is astronomical. I hate the accidental pregnancy trope in romance. Same. I've only read it once, but I live in fear of it. Like, ever since I read that, I've been like, whenever there's a chance, like whenever I read a romance book and they don't mention a condom, I'm like, oh God, oh God. Like there was a book I read recently that didn't have it, but there was a like lustful shower scene. And I was like, and it was towards the end of the book, and I was like, there's no protection mentioned. And like I like freaked out until the end of the book, and then it was like it didn't happen, but I thought for sure it was going to. So yeah, that is a deep betrayal that I feel. If a romance book gives me an accidental pregnancy where everything works out appropriately, I'm like, I get that that's a fantasy for some people. It is like basically never a reality though. So like, don't do that. Ugh. If society didn't segregate females and males so much, it would solve so many issues. Really, even like society's gender binary is the issue as well, because it's just like we don't teach men to embrace their own femininity either. And like I'm attracted to masculine traits, like across the board, any gender. That's what I am attracted to. However, I want to be with someone who also respects femininity. And we teach women to respect masculinity, but not men to respect femininity. Like it's very much looked down on in nearly everything. And it's just like, that is a problem. That is a problem. Why do we do that? I hate it here. I need better buy rep in books. I feel like it's not done properly most of the time. I've read a few books recently that have done it like fairly well. I tend to find that I prefer, and maybe it's just one picking up, but I found the women bisexual characters to be better done than the men that I've read. But I don't tend to like. The thing too is I think I've seen a lot of like really good rep um, talked about in like YA contemporary books, but I don't read that genre anymore, and I don't have any desire to. So looking for it in other genres is a little bit harder. The most recent really good buy rep that I found is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, which is adult contemporary romance. She's bi and a witch and black and bigger bodied. It's great. So like that one was really good because her bisexuality was like a thing, but also like not a thing that was like a problem with anybody in the text either, and was like very realistic and like it was really good. I think some use the feminist thing as a bait and switch. It's so scary. I knew some men who would do that. Yes. The problem I run into as well is the the men that are like newly woke and like don't really get it but think they get it and then sort of like mansplain it to you. um I was briefly talking to somebody like that in the past, and once I figured that out, I kind of like ran immediately because I'm like, one, I'm not going to like educate you more on this. Two, like, why are you preaching to me about this thing that I know more about than you? um I feel like you're doing it for points, for like woke points, and like I don't need you to tell me how much men suck. Like I don't need that from you, like I know. And it felt very like, give me a cookie, give me sex, because I said how much men suck, and I'm like, that's not all you got to do. So yeah, it very much is like, because at first glance I was like, oh, this person has some really decent beliefs, and then they kept like spouting their beliefs, which were like baby woke person beliefs, and I'm like, uh, it's not it. Someone also recommended Evelyn Hugo, which is also excellent by rep. Funny story about changing last names. My brother asked sister-in-law if she changed hers, and she countered by asking if he'd changed his, and he goes, I like my name, it's unique. And she was like, you're named after your dad and grandpop. Yeah. Like, will you change yours? Oh, man, man. When Cher was like, Mom, I am a rich man, I ascended. That audio on TikTok is like one of my favorites. Like that one, the like, someday you're gonna settle down and marry a rich man. Mom, I am a rich man is great. And then the one that's like more recent, that's like, ladies, your body is a temple. So don't let like any men in it unless you're sacrificing him for the good, for the like the good of Athena, or like sacrificing him to Athena. It's so good. It's so good. I love TikTok. It's really helped me this whole time. I think taking on a man's name is inherently problematic. I always think about how enslaved people would take their owner's last name. Kind of scary. That's a tradition tied to marriage and love. Yeah, like I think if people want to do it, like it's fine. Like I'm not going to tell somebody like if you take on a man's last name, like you're not a feminist or it's problematic or whatever. But like I think recognizing the ties, like you're saying, of it being tied to ownership, and that's how the marriage institution started. Like that's why like if I ever do get married, I don't want like a traditional wedding. Like I want a very like Celtic Irish vows, hand fasting, like some of the things that don't make it so like um in service to your spouse, obeying your spouse, like all that kind of just gross misogyny, ownership stuff. I think that you have to recognize that tradition you're taking part in and like morph it. Um, so that is the plan for me. Oh, this is funny. This is a Grey's Anatomy reference. What did you think about the Meredith, Derek, Addison love triangle? I think I watched somewhere that you love Grey's. I absolutely hated Derek through the conflict and Meredith a little too. Um, this is a funny thing because it takes me back. I do love Grey's Anatomy. It is one of my comfort shows. I also understand that it can be like absolute garbage. But I watched the first like 6, 7 seasons, like probably 8 times. So I view it from a nostalgic place. I actually kind of like their love triangle brings me so much good pain. Like there's so much good angst there because I really liked Addison as a character. And I liked Derek and Meredith, and I liked Derek and Meredith's like faded thing. And I liked the discussion around like Addison and Derek were good for each other at one point, but then they outgrew each other and they're no longer on, compatible. And Meredith is who he's compatible with now. And, and was it so ugly, like some of the stuff that he did? Oh, the stuff when she was dating the vet. I'm sorry, I'm getting it like when she was dating the vet, and he was getting so jealous, even though he was still married to Addison and trying to make it work. And she was like, "You don't get to, yell at me for fixing what you broke, and I was done, and like you don't get to judge me, you don't get to call me a whore." That line is so good. So like so much good TV came out of that situation. Is it like a shitty situation? Yes. Is it like also something that kind of like happens? Yes. So like these kind of emotional cheating narratives, I don't like the romanticization, is that the word, of them necessarily. And I know people don't like watching them necessarily, but I'm also like, this stuff happens in real life, and I like the angst. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Grey's Anatomy. I still need to read Red, White, and Royal Blue. I plan on it, but real talk, why is protection never mentioned in books, other media? Of all the things to gloss over with sex scenes, that should not be it. So the thing is that I found romance books mention it a lot. Like romance books will mention taking birth control, putting on condoms, blah, 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 blah. It's not mentioned so much, obviously, in like fantasy and stuff. They kind of like gloss over it. Although there have been a few books that I have read that have definitely talked about like magical herbs and stuff and like potions, but there is no coverage of like any kind of STD protection. I guess in their world, like they don't exist. But yeah, that part like sucks because it's like, can we try something to like, stand in for condoms here? Like you have magic. I don't know. Can we like, I would love to read a scene in like an adult fantasy book where like a wizard like forms a magical like condom. Like it would be ridiculous, but I'm still like, why not? Why not? But I see a lot in romance books. Like the mention of condoms is very frequent in romance books, which is great. Have you heard of the comic? Is it Eliza Schlesinger? I feel like I've seen that name before. Talks about wedding norms. I will definitely watch that because I love just like the history of weddings and wedding norms and stuff. I actually really love weddings. Um, but yeah, like the dismantling of the institution is really interesting. Yes, feminism is having options available to you. It doesn't mean it's not okay to choose a traditional route. It just that it's not your only option. One size fits all, no matter your opinion. Exactly. Like again, I'm not opposed to people doing a traditional marriage or taking on their partner's name or whatever. It's just like I like there to be an open discussion about like what that is and what that's from, and like everyone being like on the same page with it. Can we just do away with weddings and have commitment ceremonies instead? Honestly, like, yes, kind of. But like I said, I do love weddings. Like, I will watch Say Yes to the Dress. I do have a Pinterest board with like wedding decorations, which are very specific. It's like a woodland setting or the night circus. So like I do like the like spectacle of a wedding. Um, because I like a good party. I'm a party planner by heart. So yeah, I do like weddings, but like the tradition around it and what it means, I like breaking that part down. Like I went to a wedding one time with my ex, and there was the pastor. They were religious, so like whatever. The pastor was doing a whole thing about. It makes me so grossed out. And this was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Um, he was comparing the both of them to mugs, and the man is the coffee cup, and he's sturdy and he's harder to break, and he might have like a weird saying on it, and he's like a little bit dirty, and the woman is the fine china teacup. I was sitting there like, oh my god, like in the middle of this wedding with people that I didn't know, and it's like, and she might break, and the man has to take care of her because she's delicate, and I was like, I am going to heave. That kind of shit that happens, like I hate those traditional vow things. Like I get really uncomfortable when I go to weddings and I have to like listen to people's traditional vows, even if that's what they want. I'm just like, I hate this. I will never say that it was awful to them, but I hate it. So yeah, I just don't like those norms at all. at all. I have not read Wet Moon, which is a comic. I actually have to catch up on my comics like hardcore. There's a lot that I need to catch up on. In Dark Artifices, a rune birth control rune is created. That's great. Yeah, like the Imperium trilogy has a lot of talk of like birth control and stuff in there, and like birth control potions and like periods and like all of that. It is very discussed in that series. My cousin recently got married, and the weird religious crap that was spouted during the ceremony, I couldn't handle it. Yes, I just like I haven't been to like very many weddings, but anytime I'm going to like a religious wedding, I get very uncomfortable. It's funny. I was in a wedding last year with a really good friend who's actually polyamorous, and her family, like some of them know, some of them don't, but she was marrying like her primary partner. Great. Her family is very Catholic, and she goes by a name that's not her like given name. She hasn't like fully changed her name, but she goes by a different nickname. Anyway, at the wedding, and she allowed this, and this is like what she did for like the comfort of her family. But they like read parts from the Bible. She's not really religious. They, married her under her like given name, which again, like she's fine with, like she still goes by it, but it was still just very weird to hear my friend's like given name. We never call her that. And like there's all this stuff about like I think they read from like Ruth, and it was like submitting to your like husband, and I'm like, she's not gonna do any of this. Like this is like I'm like really at this wedding? like I just no, like that's just not, it makes me uncomfortable and I don't like it. So the only man who deserves rights is my pug Stewart, to be honest. Yeah, like I kind of feel that way about my cat. Like Binks is the only man in my life that like I love unconditionally and never has done anything wrong in his life. Like he's the best boy. He's the best boy in the whole world. I love him. Um, yeah, like I just mm, I'm having that nightmare again of like possibly being tricked by a man into thinking he's a good person, and then like he's not. Because they're trained to do that shit, you know? Ugh. Have you read The Wicked and the Divine? Yes, it's one of my favorite comic book series. I have read like the first 3 or 4 volumes, I want to say. That's one of them I have to catch up on. I have to catch up on Wicked and the Divine, Monstrous, Saga, and Descender are the 4 that I'm really planning on catching up on, and then possibly starting some new ones from there. Like I want to read Die, which is like a D&D sort of RPG. They go into the game. It's a little grim dark and stuff. So I want to do that. But I want to catch up on all my current ones first. So there are literal classes on how to trick women. I hate the world. Yes. And it's funny when you like figure out what they're doing. Like I don't know, years ago, like I don't know, like 5, 10 years ago, the like hookup pickup artist culture was like very in. I feel like it's dropped off a bit, but that was very in. And I remember like finding out about this and then going to a bar and having a guy like try it on me. Like he tried to neg me. And I was like, what? But like for a second, my brain wanted to respond in the way that he wanted me to respond. And I was like, what? Fuck you. Like, no. But like, yeah, the fact that like there's that, there's, men know. That's why like I won't date any men on online dating profiles, like currently, like on apps and stuff. Like I only allow queer people and women on my dating apps because I won't, like, men have to prove themselves to me in person. Like I will date them. I think they're very, like I said, men are great. I will date them in person. You have to prove yourself to me in person before like I waste my time with you on an app, and talking to you and stuff. No. So, but there are men on there that like will try to hide their like beliefs blatantly. Like the amount of men that like would try to be like, I'm a moderate. I'm like, you're a conservative. Like, don't lie to me. Like, I can tell from the way you're standing. Like, it's just, uh, and they know what things we don't like, and they try to hide them. Like, I just can't. I can't with them. I can't. Are you a dog or a cat person? If so, what's your preference? I'm a both person. There's somebody, like, I think it was a TikTok that was like, cat people are like fine with dogs, and dog people are like, cats are awful. And like, why do you have to be that way? And like, I think both are great. They're both great for different reasons. I always want both. Like, I will always have at least a cat and a dog at all times, always and forever. Dogs are very like dependent on you and affectionate in like a particular way, and like they need you, and they're like something to take care of, and you can like take them places and go for walks and all this stuff, and they're great, and they're like very innocent and wonderful. Cats are also very affectionate, at least mine are, and they're chill and they're soothing and they're soft, and they like love to sleep, and their little paws are so cute, and like I just love them. They both have tiny organs in their little bodies, and they both have really cute, like little cute eyes. And I love them both. And little tails that express their mood. Like, I love cats and dogs. Like, if someone held a gun to my head and was like, you have to choose to only have either cats or dogs for the rest of your life, I'm like, shoot me now. Like, I can't live without both of them. I love them so much. I don't think I'll ever be able to marry a man unless he's the king of a fantastical realm. Jareth set my expectations too high. I mean, that's kind of a mood. I don't know. Like I've said before, like if I was to marry a man, he needs to be like, I've said this before on lives. He needs to be a fierce feminist that'll build me a house and like live in the woods with me, but not be gross, and like fight for the rights of humanity and not say any slurs. This is a hard list for some men to obtain. I just don't know if that'll happen. And I don't want to trick me. I don't. Marco deserves rights sometimes from Saga. Yes, I agree. He can be kind of a soft boy sometimes. He's cute. I am not into horror, but if you're into sapphic or lots of kinky stuff, Sunstone is godly. I think Chelsea read Sunstone. I want to say I've seen someone read Sunstone. Sunstone. Is my water in here? Oh, yes. There are very few men that I trust, and it's kind of sad to be honest. I mean, like I've sat in groups of women and been like, name one good man. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of a man that I like really trust. I'm trying to think of a man that I have never once felt scared of, even if it was just for a moment. A straight man. Mm-mm. Like even my own dad, I've been like afraid of before, even if it was for like a split second. That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. I was wearing makeup when I finished Saga. Biggest mistake. Are you going to read Paranisi by Suzanne Clark? I think so. Susanna Clark. I think so. I've seen that going around, and it looks like it'll be my vibe. So probably. Sir, you say you have moderate wing politics, but here you are pictured with a baseball hat and sunglasses on while holding a bass. That is like so accurate. Yes. Like, don't come at me with your like blatant misogyny. Like, I just like men that hold fish, they all hate women. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah, like I can't. Or like someone made a TikTok. TikTok's my whole world right now. And it was actually a man, but he's basically saying like he's sick of like libertarian men, moderate men that just want to play like devil's advocate because the devil doesn't need an advocate, and just to be like covering up their actual conservative beliefs. I hate it here. I'm very much a dog person. I won't ever have a cat because I'm allergic. Yeah. I mean, like, thankfully, I'm not allergic. My mom is, which is why my cats aren't here. But, like, every time I go over to my neighbor's house and sit with the cats, I'm just like, I love you so much. And, like, I had cats before I had Tally, but, like, I grew up with a dog. But, like, cats are just, like, such a soothing energy in a different way that dogs are. I just love them both a lot. Animals are the best. They need to be protected. Do you miss having the cats at home with you? Yes, like I just mentioned. I love them so much, especially Binks. I mean, I love like Kit too, but like Binks is obsessed with me, like obsessed with me. Like Kit's obsessed with everybody. Binks like loves mommy so much, and like I love him for that. Um, and I just like love their soothing little presences and like their little feet that make muffins, and they're purring. Like having a cat lay on you, like lay on your chest and purr. I could just cry. Like I just love them so much, and their little mouths that are so small. And then Binks has little big ears, and I love them. And the little cries, the little meows, because cats only meow at people, not other cats, because that's not how they talk to cats. That's how they talk to people. I love them so much. One good man, Gomez Adams. Facts. All the men I trust are fictional. Like Patrick from Schitt's Creek send tweet. Yes. Like there's so many decent ones in fiction. There's only one man ever that has never made me feel uncomfortable or scared, and that's my grandpa. Mm. See, yeah, like again, the only men that have made me not fearful at one point, even if it was for a split second. Like I've dated some like decent people. Every single one at one point. Well, no, there was one exception. I don't think I was ever scared of that dude. There was one exception, and that was like he was like a himbo because we're in himbo discourse, and he was so cute but so stupid. And he was actually in the military, so he could have scared me, but he didn't. That was when I dated people in the military. I don't think I do that anymore. But yeah, like he was fine. So he counts. Um, but that also might have been because I was younger and we never talked politics because the man drove a truck. I dated him when I was like 19. He drove a truck. He was in the military and he was from the South. I liked cowboys for a while when I was younger. So yeah, if I would have been woke at the time because I was not, we probably would have been able to talk politics and he would probably be awful. But at the time, he was fine and he didn't do anything to ever threaten me. Like I never felt like he was gonna like get really angry and maybe hit me or something. But every other man in my life, at some point, I've had a moment of fear. I straight up snorted when you said you can tell a dude is conservative from how he stands. It's true though. It's true. Like you could show me a slideshow of men and I'd be able to tell you like which one voted for Trump. For sure. For sure. To be honest, all the best men I've read have been written by women, so literature has set the bar high. I'm glad we can all commiserate about how much we hate it here. You should listen to I'm Afraid to Talk to Men by Chris Fleming. I might. But also like that's just my reality sometimes. I'm not afraid to talk to men or afraid of them. Um I don't trust them. You know? That's the problem. I feel like I love animals, and then I talk to other people who say they love animals, and it's on a whole other level. I eventually want a dog when I move into a better place. Yeah, like I love them a lot. What about Lin-Manuel Miranda? I don't follow him enough to know if I trust him. I don't know. Seems like he's a good person though. I've read something about how Adam's family is meant to subvert Western ideals of family, and that's why Gomez loves and respects and is devoted to Morticia. Someone posted about, I think it was a Tumblr post, that was like, goth boyfriends are the only ones to be trusted. And it was like Dracula, I think, from that vampire anime show. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Castlevania. Gomez, and then there was somebody else that were like the three like goth men who love their wives like more than anything, and they're the only ones to be trusted. And like, yes, like Gomez, like that's the thing about Gomez that's like so hot, is like he loves Morticia, and they like have this partnership and respect for each other, and like it's not framed as like emasculating either. I love him. Clue a sister in. What's the conservative man stance? Well, I'm talking mostly on like dating apps. But if he has a fish, I'm not saying that there's liberals that like don't like fish and stuff, but like if he has a fish, that's a big clue. Also, there's like this stance that like liberal or that conservative men take that almost is like a cop stance. Like if he stands in a way that makes you feel like he could be an off-duty police officer, run. What's really alarming about that too is I was at a wedding, a friend's wedding a few months like back before Corona, and there was a guy there, and we found out like later on that he was a cop. He was an awful person, by the way. Like you could even just tell, like, oh my god. But we found out he was a cop. Like we all hated him. We found out he was a cop, and we actually watched him move. And the man stood like at one point in like the cop stance without his like he was in a wedding. He was in like his normal like casual attire. And I'm like, that right there is an issue. They also tend to do more of like the man spreading. Lots of men do this, so it's not like a dead ringer for it. But I feel like if men know that they're trashed, then they don't do it as much. Like if men have any self awareness, they're not going to man spread. So like that's a thing. Um, yeah, there's also just like you kind of have to watch if you're seeing them in the wild, how they you have to carefully watch like how they react to different kinds of people. It's like a whole thing. Before I talk to men in the wild, I have to like observe. You approach carefully. You have to be like, okay, so a woman's walking by. What does he do? A man's walking. Okay. A person of color is walking. Okay. How does he treat the staff? Okay. What kind of drink is he drinking? All right. Like you really have to like take case notes and be like, this one might be fine, and you still might be wrong. And I hate it. Honestly, I only trust men who've had at least one emo goth phase. Kind of true, yes. Like the people who were into emo at some point at least have like a slight chance to be like tapped into their emotions. Slight. There's still some misogynists in that group, but like if you listen to like the really emotional music, you have a slightly higher chance of having rights. Holding belt loops. Absolutely. That's like the cop stance. That's the cop stance. Like mm. And there's like certain clothing like, that like you just see it and you know, if it's sold at like Cabela's, you know, like that's going to be an issue. Yes, you can learn so much about a man by how he talks about his exes. If a guy has a whole string of crazy ex-girlfriends, guarantee he's the problem. Absolutely. The common denominator there is you. Like that is a huge thing. Actually, after I broke up with a former partner, I like looked back on that and how he used to talk about like an ex that like ruined his life and blah blah blah. And I'm like, hmm. Really was it like not her fault? Honestly, like anybody that really talks poorly about an ex and refuses to take any responsibility unless it's an abusive situation, I always have like a red flag for. I'm like, that person was good for you at a point in your life. Like, why disrespect them to me when we're not going to meet them? Like, um, and it's I again saw a TikTok where it was like it did a video of like a girl talking about her ex, and it's like, yeah, like we dated for a while, and I broke up with him, and he stalked me, and he like tried to throw me down the stairs, and like there's a restraining order on him, and whatever, and blah blah blah. But like he was fine. And then there's a guy being like, my girlfriend in eighth grade like broke up with me, and now I can't love anyone. It's like that's exactly how it is. When they have to see their cars from the seat at the restaurant. Conservative men, they basically contently man spread even with their personalities. It's too much. Like the audacity that so many men have. Like, be humble. Spiritual man spreading, if you will. I am loving this. Like the ocean, stay on the beach and observe for 30 minutes. Legitimately. Alt rock, even as a phase, is generally latched onto by outcasts, which could mean more aware. So I get the emo thought, though heavy rock and metal can have white supremacy. Yeah, like if a dude's into like hard rock or like heavy metal and stuff, metal can go either way. Like there's some metalheads who are like the best, and then there's some metalheads who are like white supremacist misogynists. If it's like contemporary rock that has that like very rock and roll like misogynistic tone and that's music he's into, like that weird like mid 2000s rock that was like really popular, that was just like very like like Bad Girlfriend and stuff. Yes, she can come in. Like that stuff's a red flag for sure. Come on in. Come on. All right, good night. Come up here. Come up here. Go up there so they can see you. You don't want to go upstairs? My dog is obviously in here. That's obviously who I'm talking to. Good girl. No one can see you there. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. Oh, she's so cute. I love her. So yeah, as I was saying, like that contemporary rock is like, ooh. But yeah, like if you had an emo phase, like um, Hawthorne Heights, My Chemical Romance, um, I think that's a good sign, you know? My mom told me to not marry a man who doesn't have a sister. Controversial advice, but don't think it's unfounded, to be honest. I mean, even a sister, um, like my last partner was like had a sister and like still like she hyphenated her name and he was like, I don't know why she'd do that. Like so, ooh. If there's one thing men can have, it's the audacity. They have it anyway. You know who like are really great actually? And again, if it doesn't fall into the Nazi category, is like the punk rockers. Like the dudes that are like full out like anti-establishment punk rocker dudes. Hot. They're great because they're like, fuck the system, it's fucked up. And they know. So yeah, punks are great. The guy I'm with has outright said, I won't sleep with a man, but I can appreciate when they are a looker. And this speaks volumes to me how comfortable a guy is in their own sexuality. Yes. Yes. I would value that as well. That sounds very nice. Where did you find that one? Yeah, I want a man who's a fierce feminist but can build me a house. And I don't know where to find them either. Um, I've been thinking about this because I've watched some like woo-woo content about like manifesting your life. But the thing about manifesting is you also have to do some action. So like where do I manifest a fierce feminist that could build me a house? Man or woman, because women can build houses too. And I'm like, where are they? Like I don't want to go to just like a home improvement store because like that's risky business in there. So like what kind of activities would they do? But like they're probably in the woods alone. And how am I supposed to find them? And then I'm like, well, like Jason Momoa goes to like those axe throwing places, but I feel like there's a lot of like douches there too. But like, I just don't know. I don't know where to find them. Like, I don't know what overlapping hobbies that these people would have that are easy to access. But when I find out, I will let you know because I want to find them really bad. Oh, this makes me glad I'm not in the dating scene. The thing is like I'm not even really in the dating scene. Like, I mean, like I am, but like no one's dating right now. You know what I mean? So like I've been talking to the same girl for like weeks, and that's great. And we'll meet up eventually and either date or be friends. But like even if things weren't shut down by the Rona, I don't even know where I'd go to like meet people. Like I've always just like met people by like weird serendipity. So I don't know how to do it because I can't go to bars. No. Oh, did you know Gerard Way got Liza Minnelli to sing on Mama because that was his grandma's favorite singer? Oh. He's a good bean. My geometry teacher in high school was aggressively punk rock, but he was the sweetest and the most unproblematic ever. They really like are good. They're good beans, the punk rockers. They really are. Like I used to date punks when I was younger. They're hard to find now though. Um and they kind of got like some of the punks got like that subculture um got taken by people who like don't really have like the punk anarchist ideal. Um but I do like a good punk, you know. I like the punks, the emo kids, the alt kids. Like all of those people are great for me. They're good beans. I'm non-binary and I can build a house and wire a house too. All good skills to have. Okay, so where do you hang out though? Like where do people that build houses go? This is a thing that I need to know. Just improve your axe throwing skills, and if he's attracted to your skill and not intimidated, it's a go. I mean, I think that that's a possibility for sure. Yeah, I would love to be an axe throwing person. I don't know. I'm really trying to think of like where they would hang out. You just need to go to some meadows and manifest. Truly, like truly. I mean, I just but I need to just know. So do I go to the woods and manifest and then one will just like walk into me? Like, that is, kind of, I kind of just want to go to like on a mountain retreat and hope that one's there like chopping wood. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where they are. Ooh, what about a community garden or Habitat for Humanity sites for volunteering? Habitat for Humanity, I'm not sure if this is true. This is just the assumption that I have. They feel very closely tied to church. Is that wrong? I know that they're like possibly a secular organization, but it feels very tied to churches. So that would make me hesitate about that. But community gardening, you might have something there. You might have something there. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe just go to plant shops too. Plant shops are for the girls and the gays. So, but yeah, like I think that's a possibility. I think a good farmers market is a good chance there. If they're buying some like home, like small business cheese, you know, it's very niche, so it's hard to find. I hang out at my comic shop in my living room. I never go anywhere. See, and yeah, comic shops are dangerous territory. I don't like going to comic book stores. There's a level of misogyny there that makes me super uncomfortable. Just lay a few traps in the woods and hope for the best. I'm getting close to that possibility. I mean, again, like that's why I read books about like Alaska, even though I don't want to live there. Bring like a toolbox to a meadow. I've gone axe throwing before, and unfortunately, men are almost always intimidated. But if they're not, then it's a good sign, right? Mm, it's hard. Campgrounds. Camping is a good idea. But see, like the few times I've gone to like walk around campsites lately, like people are playing like modern country music, which is like white supremacist light, you know? Mm. Masonry shops. Can you imagine me just like hanging out in front of a masonry shop being like, hello, good morning. Hi. Yeah, I feel like Habitat for Humanity, depending on the area, can be like really churchy. Because I know like a lot of people did their volunteer hours for my school, which was religious, at Habitat. So farmers markets and craft fairs. Yes. Good spot for some of the creators that will fall into what you're looking for. That is smart. Farmers markets and craft fairs. So when society can like mingle again, which will be like 2021, I need to prioritize farmers markets and crafts fairs, which is fine because I want to go to both those places anyway. There's a straight guy in my social work program and that all the girls like. I think it's because it was one of the only ones in it and he's woke. They're so rare. And actually, like the few guys that were in my social work program, like weren't good people. So the place Jason Momoa used to throw axes is in my province. Can manifest him or his people there. Where's your province? Looks like it's where I need to be. Ooh, I'm asexual and surrounded by college boys who cannot comprehend what it means to be attracted to relationships and attachments, but not sex. I've had a man tell me I'm denying my body's needs. Yeah, man. The male tendency to feel that sex is like such a high priority is like really gross. A big problem. A big problem I've had more than once in relationships where people have been like, they act like it's the same level of need as food. And I'm like, it can be a need for people, but it's not like a physiological need the way that you're acting like it is. Let's get that like very straight. So I hate them. Like, this was not intended to be like a let's complain about straight men live show, but it is what it is. You know, I do it for the girls and the gays. That's it. Generally, welders of any gender are great. That is a fact. That is a true fact. Ooh, pottery stores. Yes. Newfoundland, Canada. Okay. Well, I do want to go to Canada. So meet up at Jack's Axes, everybody. It's the blue balls conspiracy. Yeah, which is not a true thing, which is not a thing that actually happens, but they act like it does. I hate it. Listen, I do want a just like queer hangout group, to be honest. Like that is something that like I definitely need because I have like I mean, I have a group chat where like half of the chat is queer. But like we don't get to hang out in person a lot, which is really upsetting and like I miss the vibe. Have you ever been to a forge shop? I have not. Although I need to like look that up because that does sound like that would be a pretty cool thing. I think there's one in my town, I want to say. I'm ace two and it's been a problem every time. Either they say I've led them on or you think that's all I want, don't you? And then to proceed to never speak to me again. The men really like to feel like they're trapped and you ensnared them if you don't have the same amount of sex with them that they want and think is normal, which actually like statistically proven that straight men think that the normal amount of sex is like way way higher, like the average amount that people have like per week or whatever, than is actually normal. um so yeah, that's just like really fucked up, but like the fact that like that's what men get afraid of being tricked into and women are afraid of like bodily harm and like having their like needs like and rights suppressed. Ooh, have you guys done some petitions lately? I know I had to have done like at least 25, but there's never too many. Probably going to wrap up here soon because 3 hours, it was not my intention. Um, so the last few times I've gotten on here, I've decided to be on here for hours on end. Yeah, it's so great. The last time we talked, it was like witchy woo woo stuff. This time, it was like, intersectional feminism and dating and how much like straight cis men like need to just change. Um, I really appreciate that about my audience, so thank you. I told a guy in school I couldn't hang out because I had work that needed to be done, to which he said, "You need to be done." Nah, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah. Anytime people like disrespect your own independence, I'm like, you can never speak to me again, thanks. I love these chats. Me too. They're very fun. Fortunately, so far, I've never felt pressured into having sex as an ace person while dating women. Yeah, I feel like that's probably like a more common thing, you know? Um, yeah, I feel like men just have been conditioned to think that like their sexual needs are like the most important thing in the world, and women aren't, so they're more understanding. So yeah, feel free to go back and watch. We talked about um, feminism and trans rights and a lot of stuff earlier. So, and we signed petitions. So, if anybody's watching this after the fact, please take this time while you're watching to sign petitions on your phone and do any kind of like activism on your phone while you're watching this, because that was the point of me starting to do this. Was that I was going to do that tonight, like I always do, and I decided to do it as a group thing. So, yay! Anyway, yes, I'm going to go since it was 3 hours of lovely chatting time. But if you guys are into plants, because I know some of you are, I'll be doing my plant tour on my other channel, which will be going up on Wednesday. And yeah, so thanks for joining me. And this was fun. And I'll probably keep doing these like once a week or so. And I never intend to do them for 3 hours, but here we are. So yeah, see you guys later. Bye.